Now, as we always do, we will start with observing Panchasila. Then I'll deliver the sermon for about 1 hour and then give you 1 hour or even more, if necessary, time to ask you any questions. Right, let's start with observing Panchasila. We'll recite the gathas together in order to save time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Excuse me. Panatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccachara Veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We started this short series on the request of Mr. Sunil Patel from Pennsylvania, USA. And I was expecting about 5-6 people, but today we have 11 people joining us, which is good. Right, so as always I do, there are a few things I say before I start the sermon. Now, in this short series, I'm going to explain the most important basic points in Buddha Dhamma, so that it will help, it will be like a stepping stone for people to move on to our Sotapanna series, the 4th series, season 4, that we are going to start on Sunday, 25th September. We have already done 3 series, and all 3 series are on the YouTube as well as on our website. So in this series, I will try and cover all the basic and most important Buddha Dhamma words. There are some words which are very, very important in order to understand Buddha Dhamma. Now, all the Dhamma that I'm explaining in my sermons, I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is kept at the British Library in London. This Tripitaka has been written down over 1,200 years ago, 2,100 years ago, 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away, at Alulena Rajamahavihara in Matula village in Kegol district in Sri Lanka. And it's written down using the Sinhala alphabet that we are using today. They have used the Magadhi language. It has been written down by Arahat monks, and it's widely accepted that that's the oldest Tripitaka in the world. And that's why the British government is spending a lot of money and resources to look after it. They have been looking after it. It has come to UK over 160 years ago. How it came here is a long story I will tell you during this series. So all the Dhamma I have taken from that Tripitaka, and sometimes some of the Dhamma points that I quote from there might differ from what you have learned already, because if you have learned Buddha Dhamma from the Tripitakas. All the other Tripitakas have been written down. The two Sinhala Pali Tripitakas that we have in Sri Lanka, and the two English Tripitakas that is widely available in the world. One is written by Ray Davies and the other one is written by Bhikkhu Bodhi. And all of them have been written down during the past 200 years, whereas this old Tripitaka has been written down over 2,100 years ago. So there are huge differences. I explained you last time. Very briefly, I will tell you. In the four Tripitakas that I mentioned, the two Sinhala Pali Tripitakas and the two English Tripitakas, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is given on 3.5 pages. You can see that. You can read it yourself. You can download it from the internet and see. It's only 4.5 pages, 3.5 pages. And whereas in the old Tripitaka, I call it old Tripitaka, which is kept at the British Library in London, there the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is written on 50 pages. So you can see the difference between 50 pages and 3.5 pages. So there are huge differences. So that's why some of the Dhamma points that I explained to you might be differ from what you have learned already. If that is the case, don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to me carefully, learn this Dhamma, remember it, take it home and go through it several times, analyze it using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's right, you can take it, make use of it, practice it, and you will get results quickly. On the other hand, if you think it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I'm kindly making that request from all of you. Right. So last time I explained some of the important points in Buddha Dhamma. I explained the correct definition of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Then I explained the definitions of Samma Sambuddha, Pacceka Buddha, and Arahat Buddha. And I also gave some detailed explanation of the difference between Buddha Dhamma, which is a science, the teachings of Lord Buddha, and Buddhism, which is a popular religion, and in most cases, it has become a business now, just like other religions. If you still have any questions on those, you can ask me during the questions time. Normally, I give you 1 hour, but if you want more than 1 hour, I can give you time. There's no problem with the time. I am happy to sit down here and answer your questions even for 2 or 3 hours. That's not a problem for me if you have enough questions. But when you ask questions, make sure you ask questions only up to Sotapanna level and from what we have discussed so far. From what we have discussed so far, including what I'm going to discuss today, there are plenty of questions you can ask for 2 or 3 hours if you really think about it. Okay, so today what I want to explain is first, Raga Dvesha Moha, Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka, merits and sins, wholesome thoughts, wholesome action, wholesome qualities, unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome action, unwholesome qualities, then the Manomaya Kaya, Chitta Santana. So those are the things that I want to explain today. Most of you have, I'm sure, have heard of these terms and you have heard various definitions. But I'm going to give you the correct definitions according to the old Tripitaka. And you can ask me questions. Don't feel shy. You can ask any number of questions. You can debate with me if you disagree. But if you disagree, you have to prove with facts and figures why you disagree, right? Don't just say I disagree with it, but you have to explain to me why. That will be useful to everyone. Okay, let's start with Raga Dvesha Moha. Now, Buddha Dhamma is all about eradicating Raga Dvesha Moha and maximizing Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka Lord Buddha said, when you do that, your wisdom will improve to the highest level and you will be able to see, understand, comprehend what you couldn't do before, right? It's like a blind man getting eyes, the eyesight, and being able to see everything. So what is Raga, Dvesha, Moha? The explanation is given in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. In Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, Lord Buddha says the reason for suffering, cause of suffering. He says, Yayam tanha pono bhavika nandiraga sahagata tatra tatrabi nandati sayati dam kama tanha bhavatanha vibhavatanha. So he says, the reason for suffering is tanha. Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. So tanha he is dividing into three categories: kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. So let's see what is tanha. Tanha is attachment. Attachment you can have with raga, dvesha, moha, which is bad. Attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka is good. So this is what one has to understand. This is one area where people get it mixed up and end up all kinds of problems. So what is attachment with raga, dvesha, moha? Now we will discuss this with some examples so that people can understand them better. Attachment with raga, raga is, desire, or attachment with raga means developing a mental attachment to something or someone, developing a mental attachment to something or someone that you like. For example, you can develop a mental attachment to your mother, your father, your family members, your friends. So if it is, on the other hand, dvesha means developing so that's people. If you look at objects, natural objects or artificial objects or whatever, any object that you can see, you can develop an attachment with raga to your house, your car, your money, your job. Anything that you like, you can develop an attachment with raga. We'll first discuss the attachment with raga, dvesha, moha, and then compare that with the attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. We'll get some examples also and discuss, because you see, without understanding these things correctly, you cannot understand and comprehend the correct Buddha Dhamma, as Lord Buddha has explained in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is the most comprehensive sutra, which explains Buddha Dhamma from A to Z, and all the other sutras are giving details of various parts of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. If you really think about it, if you read the Tripitaka and think about it, you will realize it. So it's a Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra we need to learn, especially to become Sotapanna. As you know, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra was the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood. And the first disciples who listened to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra were 5 humans, the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, Konnanja Badya, Vappa Mahana Masaji. And also Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra says there were 330 million superior beings who came from 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka. In the Sutra, Lord Buddha has named, if you go through the Sutra, you will see Lord Buddha has named the 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka, where the superior beings came from. And out of them, about 50% comprehended Dhamma and attained various levels of enlightenment. Some became Sotapanna, some became Sakuddagami, some became Anagami, and some became Arahat. So sometimes when I talk about Brahmaloka and Divyaloka, people from certain countries get annoyed and they try to argue with me, saying that there's no Brahmaloka and Divyaloka in Buddha Dhamma. Why not? It's explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. And if you think about it logically, it fits into the puzzle, what I call the science puzzle of the universe, which Lord Buddha explained. And other religions, all the other religions have taken bits and pieces of Lord Buddha's teachings and made religions. So obviously, some of the things Lord Buddha has explained, there is reflecting in their religion. Just because it is there in other religions, it doesn't mean that we have to say it's not in Buddha Dhamma, right? Whatever Lord Buddha has explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, that is what is in Buddha Dhamma. Whatever the other things others have said in other religions, that's irrelevant to us. They can say anything they like. They can take bits and pieces of Buddha Dhamma, turn it around, and say all kinds of things. Let them say whatever they want to say. And we will learn the correct Dhamma, and we will practice correct Dhamma, and we will attain the enlightenment, various levels of enlightenment. At least, according to Lord Buddha's teachings, we will attain Sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment, and make sure that we will never ever go to one of the four hells for the rest of our samsara. That is the important thing, most important thing that we should do as a human being according to Lord Buddha's teachings. Lord Buddha has repeated this time and time again that it is, the importance of becoming Sotapanna in this life. Sorry, I'm going a little fast today. I think I was trying to save time. I'll slow down a bit now. So coming to Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So attachment with Raga means developing a mental attachment to something or someone that we like. The opposite of Raga is developing an attachment to something or something that we don't like. That is anger or resentment. Now, when I say like this, you may not understand. Let me explain you that with an example. Let's say father has a son, and the son is attached, father is attached to the son because the son listens to him, and son is doing what the father is expecting him to do. When he's a young boy, he goes to the school on time, and he keeps his room clean, and he's studying hard, and he's getting good grades in the school, and getting good reports from the teachers. So the father is very, very happy. Now, father is attached to the son because of he's getting what he likes. The son is behaving the way he wants, right? That's attachment with raga. Now, the moment, let's say after the age of 16, son changes completely and he becomes the opposite. He doesn't go to school properly, and he's doing very badly in schools. He's getting bad reports. He's not listening to the parents. He's doing what the parents don't want him to do. Then what happens? The father's attachment with raga turns into attachment with dvesha. Father starts to get angry. Every time when he thinks of the son, when he sees him, he starts shouting at him. He will argue with him, and so on. So what happened here, you have to understand practically what happens. As long as the father was getting what he wanted, what he was expecting from the son, he was attached to the son with raga. That's the attachment. So the raga is an attachment, mental attachment to something or someone. In this case, is someone. As long as that person gives you what you want, what you're expecting from that person. The moment you are not getting it, your attachment with raga turns into attachment with dvesha. It becomes, you become angry, you become resentful when the son sees you, when son starts to argue with you. The father becomes very resentful and angry and starts shouting and so on. So raga and dvesha are two sides of the same coin. Now I will compare that with attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. Before I go to that, let me explain to you moha. Moha means not because of not knowing actually, moha means not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. If a person knows the Four Noble Truths correctly, if he has learned it and comprehended it, and then his love, his attachment with the sun will not be with raga, his attachment will be with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. So when the son changes, when the son, as a good boy, father will be attached to him with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. That's a good attachment. Even when the son changes, it doesn't turn into anger. It still remains maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. So raga, dvesha, moha, I explained now. Let's see what is maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. Maitri means the thought of doing something good for someone without expecting anything in return. Karuna is compassion, compassion that you have in your mind. Mudita is be happy for others' pleasure. And upekka means, now the first three are not difficult to understand, but the fourth one is a little difficult. Upekka means when you get something what you want, you don't think about it all the time and develop an raga attachment to it. Then what happens is when you are not getting it, it becomes a dvesha, right? So even if when you are getting something what you want, you don't develop an attachment towards it with raga. Then you'll be expecting, your mind will be expecting it all the time. So let me elaborate that with an example. Now let me get another example. A beggar comes to your house when you are sitting in the house. So suddenly a maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka thought comes to your mind. Suddenly you say, poor man, must give him something. So what is in there, in that thought, when we see a beggar, if you are in a good mood, you will say, suddenly a thought will come to your mind, poor man, must give him something. So must give him some. Poor man means, you have compassion. Your thought involves compassion there, right? You feel that he is an innocent, unfortunate person who deserves some help. So that's compassion, karuna. Maitri means the thought of doing something good without expecting in return. So you wanted to give him something. You're not expecting anything in return from the beggar. And so that's a maitri thought, maitri karuna. Mudita, you want to give him something because you want to be happy for his pleasure, right? When you give him some food, if he's hungry, eats that, he feels better and you feel happy. When you give something with a maitri karuna thought, always you feel happy because you are enjoying the happiness of another person. So mudita, in other words, maitri karuna mudita upekka. In English, I don't like to use the English terms that they use because they are misleading. For raga, dvesha, moha, they use attachment, anger, and ignorance. But those meanings are, when you try to analyze Dhamma deeper, they become misleading. You cannot justify the meaning to the word. Similarly, maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka, they use the words like love, kindness, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. I rather not use those words because they are misleading. You see, because English language or no other language has words that gives identical meaning of these Magadhi words that Lord Buddha has used for explaining Dhamma. Because Magadhi is a unique language that appears in the world when Lord Buddha appears on this earth a couple of 100 years. Before that, Magadhi language reappears among certain communities. And it's a special language, and that is the only language that has words that can correctly describe the meaning of Dhamma words. The moment we substitute other languages to it, it becomes more difficult to understand. Sometimes it becomes, now, especially the European languages, with Asian languages like, languages in India, Sri Lanka, we can explain that to a certain extent. Even though it's harder, we can explain it, understand it, and comprehend it. But when it comes to European languages, it's almost impossible Because you see, European languages are very good at describing material things. But when it comes to the spiritual things, European languages do not have the words that we have in Asian languages to describe the spiritual side, because European people were more interested in the material side of life rather than the spiritual side. Whereas in our countries, India, Sri Lanka, now even countries like Burma, Thailand, even Japan, South Korea, in these countries, even though some of the countries have become more materialistic now, from the olden days, they were more interested in the spiritual side than the material side. So that's why our languages have more words. So that's why I don't like to use the English words. I rather use the Magadhi words and explain the meaning of them. Please try and remember. It's not difficult to remember the meanings, especially people from Sri Lanka. It's very easy because most of those words we have in the Sinhala language. When we say Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, all those four words are we use in the Sinhala language. Also, Raga, Dvesha, Moha we use. Sometimes some people don't get the correct meaning, but still we use those words as they are. I'm sure in other Indian languages also, they have some relationship to these words, and it's easier for them to understand rather than for European people to understand. That's why people who speak only European languages struggle to understand the correct meanings of these words. So coming back to the beggar's example, when the moment the first thought comes to you, a poor man must give him something. So you have Maitri in there because you want to do something good for someone without expecting in return, without expecting any material things in return. You may expect to receive some merits that will help you to go to Nibbana, but that is not material. But as long as you don't expect anything material in return for your thought, that's a Maitri thought. Karuna is the compassion. If you didn't have the compassion, you will not have that thought. So you have the compassion quality. Mudita again is a quality that you have. You want to give something, you want to give because you want to enjoy, you want to be happy for others' pleasure. And Upekka is the difficult one to understand. Think about it. You see, when something good happens to you, if you keep thinking about it all the time, then you develop a raga attachment towards it. On the other hand, if something bad happens to you, let's say you lost someone that you really, really love, let's say mother or father or spouse or child or someone, if you keep thinking about it all the time, then you develop a dvesha attachment towards it, attachment with dvesha. Every time when that person comes to your mind, you get angry, you get heated up, you feel sad, and you feel like crying, and you don't feel like doing anything. And that is a dvesha attachment, you see. So what Lord Buddha said was, upekka means maintaining a balanced mind. When something good happens to you, you enjoy that moment, and then forget about it. Don't keep thinking about it all the time, and try and enjoy it more and more in your mind. Similarly, when something bad happens to you, you lost someone close to you, or you lost your car or house or something that you really, really like, don't keep thinking about it all the time. It only does harm and no good. You see, it cannot do any good because it cannot bring, if you keep worrying about it, keep thinking and worrying about it, that person is not going to come back. It will only harm you and make you a sad person, an angry person. Sadness is another quality that comes under the quality of dvesha, anger. So that if you think about this beggar's example, so that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. From the same example, you can explain how Raga, Dvesha, Moha works out in our mind. So if you are sitting down and doing something interesting, reading a newspaper or something, that you are reading some very interesting articles in a newspaper, and the beggar comes, and if you get the thought, what a nuisance this man. He came yesterday also, he's coming to bother me again now. So without even knowing, you have become angry. Anger quality has woken up within yourself. So you are getting an angry thought, right? So you are getting an angry thought because you also have a raga attachment. Raga attachment means you are attached to that moment that you were enjoying with the reading the article and the newspaper and so on. And if you don't know Dhamma, that means if you are in moha, ignorant of Dhamma, then you see, and you are so attached to it. And when you see that beggar, instead of looking at it as an opportunity to develop your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka and earn some merits, because you don't know Dhamma, you get angry. So that's Dvesha. So Raga, there's Raga there, there's Dvesha there. You have Raga and Dvesha because of Moha. Moha is not knowing Dhamma. If you know Dhamma, and if you have comprehended it even a little bit, you will realize that a beggar coming to your house is a golden opportunity for you to develop your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities, that's your wholesome qualities, and then earn merits out of it. So hope that is clear to you. But if it is not clear, please question me, and I will try and explain you as much as possible. Then you see, we'll move on to wholesome thoughts and wholesome action, wholesome thoughts, wholesome deeds, and wholesome qualities. Now, wholesome thoughts are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts. They are wholesome thoughts. The thought comes to your mind when you see the beggar, and then wholesome action. Wholesome action is you give him something. You give the beggar something with a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka mind, a thought in your mind. So that's a wholesome action. And when you do an wholesome action, whether it is mentally, physically, or verbally, your wholesome qualities will develop. Now, there's a certain place I'm going to explain to you now within the next few minutes when I explained the Chitta Santana and Manomaya Kaya. In the Chitta Santana, there's the place where our wholesome qualities are stored. So the moment you have a wholesome thought, you will be developing your wholesome qualities. And that's what we do when we practice meditation. That's why we practice meditation, you see. When we say, may all living beings be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths. And if we really put, concentrate those thoughts in our mind, what we are doing is we are practicing a wholesome quality. So the wholesome thought is there. We are repeating that thought in our mind. We are practicing. We are doing a wholesome action, and that action will strengthen the strengthen the wholesome qualities in our Chitta Santana. So that's one reason. One of the things that loving kindness meditation does. Firstly, it strengthens our wholesome qualities. That is very, very important. I will explain to you as we go on why it is important to strengthen wholesome qualities and gradually eradicate unwholesome qualities. As a matter of fact, in Buddhism, in Buddha Dhamma, that's all what we are trying to do. Strengthen wholesome qualities, eradicate unwholesome qualities. When we do that, our wisdom will improve and we will comprehend the universal laws, especially the Four Noble Truths, and comprehend Dhamma. And once you comprehend the Four Noble Truths at the first level, you become Sotapanna. You will get four special wisdoms. Lord Buddha said, Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipajana Jnanam, Ayang Uchati Bhikkhave Samma Ditti. So you will get four special wisdoms. I will explain you these things in detail, little detail in this series and in more detail in the Sotapanna series. And so you will improve your, sorry, excuse me. You will develop your wholesome qualities, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha qualities. And when you meditate, that's one thing you do. You are developing your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha qualities. And when your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha qualities go up and Raga, Dvesha, Moha qualities go down, remember Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha qualities are the wholesome qualities, and Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts are the unwholesome qualities. Wholesome thoughts and unwholesome thoughts. So firstly, we have a thought, Manopabangama Dhamma Manusetta Manomaya, the first verse in Dhammapada. Every action begins with a thought. In other words, mind is the forerunner of everything. So first we start with the thought, whether it's a wholesome thought or an unwholesome thought. Then we put it into action. Either mentally, we will think about it, or physically, we will put it into action, mentally, physically, or verbally. We can put it into action verbally or physically, right? So all those three actions. First, the thought will come into our mind, and that could be a sanchetana. Sanchetana means unwholesome thoughts, and it could be just a chetana, wholesome thought. I will explain those things as I go on. So I'm just trying to here explain to you the difference between wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities. So wholesome thought, firstly we start with the thought, then it becomes an action, mentally, physically, or verbally, then it improves, it becomes a quality in us. So Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha thought. So if you have a thought, it will be either a wholesome thought, which has Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha, or it is an unwholesome thought with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. You cannot have more than that. You cannot have more than two types of thoughts. It's either wholesome or unwholesome. And another way of understanding is all unwholesome thoughts. If you go down to the very end of the thought, the idea, the final result of that thought will be, it will help you to continue this samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth. It will make you, after several things, due to various reasons, the results will be, it will make you to continue this cycle of birth and rebirth in this samsara. On the other hand, wholesome thought, a thought involving Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha, it will always help you to get out of these 31 planes, stop this cycle of birth and rebirth, which involves immense suffering, and go to that wonderful place called Nibbana, where there is no suffering, no death, and it's a permanent and happy place. Now, in some denominations of Buddhism, they say when you become, you disappear. When you become Arahat, you disappear. And that's not true. You see, why do you want to give up everything, work so hard and disappear? That's not true, right? The truth is that once you become Nibbana, is a place where there's permanent happiness and no death. Of course, there's no body, there's only the mind. And the mental strength of the Buddhas forms the universal power that controls everything in the universe. We don't want to go that far now. Let's stick to the basics, coming back to Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So firstly, I explained the Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts and Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha thoughts. So let's look at these Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha thoughts. And several things happen when we have a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha thought in our mind. Now, firstly, the thought construction process. I'm not going to go into detail here. That's Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So when let's here I want to start from the point where we have a thought in our mind. I'm not going to go back further and explain you here how the thought is created through Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. I will explain that in the Sotapanna series. There are people here who have been following the Sotapanna series with me, all three series since April 2021. And they know that I will explain it in detail. In fact, in the fourth series, I hope to go into more detail on that than that I did in the first, second, and the third series. So that is very, very important. That's what Lord Buddha said in the Dhamma Chakrapavatana, Yayam Tanha Pono Bhavika Nandiraga Sagata Tatra Tatrabhinandati Sayati Dham. That is the process. Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha. Then also in the Dhamma Chakrapavatana Sutra, where he explains suffering, he says, Idanko Panabikave, Dukkang Arya Satyang, Jati Pidukka, Jara Pidukka, Vyadi Pidukka, Maranam Pidukkang, Soka Parideva Dukka Domanasa, Upayasa Pidukka, Pi Yehi Vipayogo Dukko, Api Yehi Sampayogo Dukko, Yampi Ichang Nalabati Tampi Dukkang, Sankitte Panchopadana Skanda Dukka. So the Panchopadana Skanda is the process that involves Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, which constructs the thought, and those thoughts can be either wholesome thoughts or unwholesome thoughts. So these are bits and pieces of the same puzzle that fits in. As long as you understand everything from the beginning, comprehending this Dhamma is very, very simple. There's no rocket science here. It's just a question of eradicating unwholesome thoughts and developing wholesome thoughts. Sabba papasa akaranang, eradicating unwholesome thoughts. Kusala sopa sampada, develop, cultivate, and accumulate wholesome thoughts, wholesome action, and wholesome qualities. That's all there is in Buddha Dhamma, nothing else. But to do that, you have to understand correctly the entire process. Why we do that, how we do it, and how to do it correctly. That's what we have to learn. So here I'm just trying to explain the terms that we use in this process so that when we go into nitty-gritty explaining how this process works in the Sotapanna series, you'll be able to understand better. So coming back to Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka again, in meditation, in loving kindness meditation, why we practice loving kindness meditation? It's so powerful. Lord Buddha said, now practicing loving kindness, you can earn more merits by practicing loving kindness meditation than giving Sangadana to a Samma Sambuddha and his disciples 1,000 times. Now, there are very few people in the Gautama Buddha Sasana who were able to offer Sangadana more than 1,000 times to Samma Sambuddha and his disciples. Very, very few. As far as I know, it's only 3 people, Anathapindika and Upasika, what's her name? Can someone remember name? Upasika, what's her name?
Vishaka.
Vishaka Upasika and the King Pasena the Kosala. Those were the 3 people who were able to offer, as far as I know, Sangadana more than 1,000 times. So that is, Lord Buddha said, offering Sangadana 1,000 times is a huge merit, but you can earn more merits by practicing loving kindness meditation correctly for 5 minutes. Why it is so powerful? Now, let me explain that to you why it is so powerful, right? Lord Buddha said when we are having a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thought, that's what we do when we practice loving kindness meditation. We are having a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thought, even for 5 minutes, without allowing any other Raga, Desha, Moha thought to creep into our mind. So Lord Buddha said, firstly, when we practice the Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thought, the first thing happens is the Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities that we have in our Chitta Santana will develop. So it's like, any quality that we have, more we practice, is more it will develop, right? So that's why if you take a sportsman, that's why they keep practicing and practicing and practicing. More they practice, better they get at it. So similarly, more Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka thoughts we practice in our mind, cultivate in our mind, and our Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka qualities will develop. This is what Lord Buddha explained in the Dveda Vitakka Sutra, where he has explained how he discovered Buddhist Anapanasati Samadhi meditation, the Samatha meditation. And it's nothing to do with breathing, and how he practiced it, through the practice of it, how he maximized his Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka qualities and got rid of Raga Dvesha Moha qualities completely and became Arahat and attained Buddhahood. It's explained beautifully, and it's Sutra number 19 in the first part of Majjhima Nikaya, Dveda Vitakka Sutra. It's a very short sutra, I think 3.5 pages or 4.5 pages, and very easy to read and understand. If you read the English Tripitaka or the Sinhala Pali Tripitaka that we have, in both Tripitakas it has been explained correctly. There are no translation errors there in all 4 Tripitakas. Anyone can understand, and it's very clearly explained. Lord Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, and he decided to put his thoughts into 2 sides, unwholesome thoughts on one side, wholesome thoughts on the other side. Then he decided to allow wholesome thoughts to come in and practice and cultivate them in his mind, not allow Raga, Dvesha, Moha, unwholesome thoughts to come in. So that's how he developed his wisdom to the highest level and comprehended the universal laws, what he called Dhamma. So those are the advanced things. We will be explaining those in the Sotapanna series. But let's go back to the basics now. So when we practice loving kindness meditation in our mind, first thing that we do is we improve our Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka qualities that we have in our Chitta Santana. And secondly, always we are releasing positive energy or negative energy into the environment, we human beings. So don't think about animals and superior beings, Deva and Brahma and all that. Don't complicate them here. Let's only concentrate on the human being to understand this. So we as human beings, we are always releasing negative energy or positive energy into the environment according to the thought that we have in our mind. So if we have a Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka, especially when we are practicing loving kindness meditation, that means we have a Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka thought in our mind. So we'll be releasing positive energy into the environment. And in turn, this positive energy cleans the environment. And in turn, that has a positive benefit on all the living beings living on the 31 planes, and also all the plants and trees that provide oxygen for the human beings to survive. And they will have a positive benefit. And that's the huge merit that cannot be countable. You see, it's not countable, uncountable. So that's why Lord Buddha said, it's a simile that Lord Buddha gave. He said, by practicing loving kindness meditation for 5 minutes, you can earn more merits than giving Sanghadana to a Samma Sambuddha and his disciples 1,000 times. So it's not easy. I mean, it's not difficult to accumulate merits according to Lord Buddha's teachings. All you have to do is sit down and practice loving kindness meditation, and loads of merits will be flowing to your Chitta Santana, where the merits are accumulated. Merits are like money in the bank. You can, when you have merits, you make a wish, the wish will come true, as long as you know the correct technique as to how to do it. We'll be discussing it as we go on. So merits will give you, happiness, and sins will give you unhappiness. Results that will make you happy, results that will make you unhappy. So when you have wholesome action, mentally, physically, or verbally, you'll be cleaning the environment and earning merits. So that's why, so the first thing what it does is, firstly, when we practice loving kindness meditation or any other situation where we are having wholesome thoughts in our mind, even when we see the beggar, we have a wholesome thought for 1 second. And for that 1 second, we are, we are strengthening our wholesome qualities and purifying the environment and earning merits. So that's why loving kindness meditation is so important. So then also there's another thing happens in the process that we have Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. When we have a wholesome thought, instead of developing Vijnana, we develop Prajna, which will help us to comprehend Dhamma. I will explain that in the Sotapanna series. That happens through Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Instead of doing Rupa Vedana Sanya, instead of doing Sankara, if you do Visankara, that means instead of having unwholesome thoughts, you have wholesome thoughts. Then instead of developing Vijnana, you are developing Prajna, wisdom, which will help you to comprehend Dhamma. Don't worry about those things at this stage. We will learn them later in the Sotapanna series, clearly and precisely. Here, let's try and comprehend the meanings of these words, the basic words, which are very, very important. So that's the power of wholesome thoughts. It does all good to us. Firstly, it will improve our wholesome qualities that we have in our Chitta Santana. Wholesome qualities are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. Maitri quality, Karuna quality, Mudita quality, and Upekha quality. Firstly, it improves all these things happen at the same time, within a fraction of a second. Even though we explain it, when we explain it, we say this happens first, this happens next, this happens next. But all these things happen at the same time. Firstly, it will strengthen your wholesome qualities. That's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha qualities. Secondly, it will release positive energy into the environment, and that will earn you loads of merits. And thirdly, it will improve your wisdom, that we will explain later, which is necessary to comprehend Dhamma. A person who is not Sotapanna yet, Lord Buddha called him Pruthakjana. So the Pruthakjana person has more Vijnana. His Vijnana power is Vijnana is more powerful than the Prajna. His Vijnana is more powerful because his Vijnana is more powerful than the Prajna. He will be always thinking of developing thoughts with Raga Desha Moha. Don't worry about it. We will discuss it later. So just try and understand the meanings of these 7 words: Raga Desha Moha, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. So that's what happens when we have a wholesome thought. I keep repeating this to make sure that you get these concepts correctly. So when we have a Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha thought, firstly, we will strengthen our Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha wholesome qualities in our Chitta Santana. Secondly, we release positive energy into the environment, clean the environment, and by doing that, all the living beings will have a benefit, and we will get huge merits there. Because by meditating, by practicing loving kindness meditation, the bottom line is we are providing oxygen that is necessary for us to survive, for people to survive. And in return, people are producing the carbon dioxide, which is necessary for the plants and the trees to survive, right? Without that process, life cannot exist. So we are giving life to people, not just offering food to Samma Sambuddha and his disciples, which is a huge merit, of course. Not many people get the opportunity to give 1 dana to Samma Sambuddha. And that itself is a huge merit. Offering 1,000 danas, you cannot count the amount of merit that you will have. But Lord Buddha says, you can earn more merits by practicing loving kindness meditation for 5 minutes if you do it correctly, because you are cleaning the environment so much, and it has a huge benefit on everyone. every living being and every plant and tree living on this planet. Nothing can compare to that. That is the number one meritorious need, practice in loving kindness meditation. That's why it is very, very important to practice loving kindness meditation. Now, on the other hand, what happens if you have a raga, dvesha, moha thought, the negative side? That's what the Pruthajjana person does all day. Lord Buddha said the person who doesn't know anything about Dhamma, anything he doesn't know about this Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana process, how this Vijnana is created and how the Prajna is created, that person doesn't know Dhamma, he's in moha, ignorant of Dhamma. So all day, Lord Buddha said, on average, 30,000 thoughts come to the mind of a human being. So 30,000 times he'll be thinking with raga, dvesha, moha. And firstly, 30,000 times he'll be strengthening his unwholesome qualities, raga quality, dvesha quality, moha quality, which is a terrible thing to do. Then he's releasing negative energy into the environment 30,000 times, polluting the environment and making and creating a negative effect on every living being and every tree and plant that is existing on this planet. And that's a huge sin. And Lord Buddha said that is only second to Anantariya Papa Karma and Aryopavada. So it's the third worst thing one can do, which is having unwholesome thoughts. So when you really think about it, it's terrifying. That's what people do all day. People who do not know Lord Buddha's correct Dhamma, that's what they do all day. They will go, some of them so-called Buddhists, they go to a Buddhist temple or Buddha Vihara or Buddhist meditation center or monastery or wherever. They will offer flowers, joss sticks and this and that and pray for hours and hours and hours. They are doing all that with moha, not knowing correct Dhamma. Instead of earning merits, they are earning loads of sins by doing those things. You see, so this is why it's very, very important to understand Dhamma correctly and practice it correctly. If you practice it correctly, you will be fine. You'll be able to comprehend Dhamma and become, attain the first level of enlightenment, Sotapanna, and protect yourself from the four hells and be one of the happiest living beings on earth. And on the other hand, if you don't know Dhamma and do things wrongly, there are people who spend millions and millions and do the wrong things and keep accumulating more and more sins and more unwholesome qualities. So that is the problem. That's why it's very important. So a person who is thinking with raga, dvesha, moha, and what he's doing is, firstly, he's strengthening his unwholesome qualities, raga quality, dvesha quality, moha quality. And secondly, he's releasing negative energy into the environment and polluting the environment and earning sins, huge amounts of sins, 30,000 times a day. And then he's also, through the thinking process, Rupa Vedana Sanya comes to his mind. He's doing a sankara. Sang means raga, dvesha, moha. Kara means doing action. So he's doing, he's constructing the thought with raga, dvesha, moha, and he's strengthening his vijnana power. There's no word in the English language to, describe vijnana. I will explain it in more detail when we start doing the Sotapanna series, during the Sotapanna series. So in three ways, he's doing terrible things to himself. Firstly, he's strengthening his unwholesome qualities, raga, dvesha, moha, which will in turn, it's a vicious cycle. When you improve your qualities, it will do more and more harm to you. It will produce more and more raga, dvesha, moha thoughts and improve the qualities, raga, dvesha, moha qualities more and improve the vijnana more and more, and it will take you into deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why Lord Buddha said, unless a person is Sotapanna, at the moment of death, he will have unwholesome thoughts coming into his mind. And as a result, he will go to one of the four hells. It's only the Sotapanna person can control his thoughts, and Sotapanna higher, control his thoughts and maintain positive thoughts in his mind at the point of death. And that's why that person will never ever go to the four hells for the rest of his or her samsara. That's why becoming Sotapanna is so important. That's why Lord Buddha picked up a little bit of earth from the ground before he delivered the Chutta Sutra and said only a proportion of people equivalent to the amount of soil in his hand will go to a better place after death, and all the others will go to one of the four hells. So these are very profound statements. If you really think about it, it's mind-boggling, you know. People should be shivering if they understand this, they'll be shivering and they will run, they will give top priority, try and find time somehow and learn this path correctly, practice it and become Sotapanna as soon as possible. Once you have become Sotapanna, you will see, your state of mind will be completely different and you will feel so happy and relaxed and relieved. It's like you have been carrying 100 kilos of some grain on each shoulder, and the shoulders have been paining like anything. And the moment you put those 2 bags of grain on the ground, you feel so relieved on your shoulders, right? That is one example, one simile that Lord Buddha has given. That's the way you will feel. You will so happy and relaxed, and you will not fear anything, right? You will not fear of death because you understand what life is all about. You know death is only something that's going to come to us. It's imminent. Sometimes we can postpone it. Sometimes we cannot, depending on our karma. So when it comes, we are ready for it. And we know that we are only going to a better place. So one wouldn't worry about it. The biggest worry a person has is, the biggest worry is death. The second worry is getting sick. And third worry is getting old. Sotapanna person will not worry about death, right? Not worry about getting old. He might be worried about getting sick sometimes, but if he has gone beyond Sotapanna and developed to a little higher level, he won't even worry about sickness, right? Because it's all part of life. We will do whatever we can to avoid it. There are certain meditation techniques Lord Buddha has explained to eradicate some of the sins, apart from the Anantariya Papa Karma and the certain Aryapavada. More than 90% of our sins can be eradicated by practicing a certain meditation technique. And that's what Lord Buddha taught Angulimala. As you all know, Angulimala came to Lord Buddha having killed over 1,000 people, even though he had only 999 fingers collected. He killed more than 1,000, which is a huge sin. But within 3 months, he managed to eradicate more than 90% of those sins and became Arahat. So there's a way of eradicating our sins, apart from Anantari Papa Karma and the Aryapavada. I'll be explaining those things in detail in the Sotapanna series. Here we are doing a basic introduction. Maitri Karuna, I hope that you understand more now about Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekha and Raga Dvesha Moha. So whether it's now Raga Dvesha Moha qualities are unwholesome qualities, unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome action, and unwholesome qualities. So in both you have, firstly, you have a thought comes to your mind, then you have put it into action, either mentally, verbally, or physically, and then it becomes a quality. It will strengthen your quality. Whether it's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha, wholesome qualities, or Raga, Dvesha, Moha, unwholesome qualities. Hope that is clear to you, but if it is not, please ask me during question time. Ask any number of times. I don't mind explaining it, even 100 times, because without understanding this, you cannot proceed further in understanding correct Buddha Dhamma. It's very, very, very important to understand this process. Right, so that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha, and Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Thoughts, action, and qualities. Then we will see where these things are kept, stored in our mind. Now, Lord Buddha said, the physical body that you can see, he called it Karjakaya. when we die, the physical body will die, and also our mind will die. The mind that we are using now, it will die. So the physical body is like, now when we say physical body, that's eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. So all six will die when we die. But Lord Buddha said, with inside this physical body, there's another body he called it Manomaya Kaya. And in English, they have a word for it. They call it astral body. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard of astral travel. There are people who practice various Hindu meditation techniques. And even in Buddhist meditation techniques, you can do that. You can take your astral body out of the physical body and allow the astral body to travel. It's called astral travel. I knew a monk in Sri Lanka who had attained the third level of enlightenment. He told his, the people who were close to him, he didn't tell everyone because people will start making, jokes out of it. Only those people who had some understanding of Dhamma, he said he sent his astral body to the heaven, one of the heavens, and had a 1-hour discussion with Lord Jesus Christ, who is a bodhisattva. So there are people who can do that. You see, even yogis can do astral travel. You don't have to become a sotapanna to be able to do astral travel. Anyone can do it if they practice those meditation techniques and learn the art of taking the astral body out of the physical body. It's a technique. It's another science. So this astral body, so Lord Buddha said, when we die, the physical body will die, including our eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. 6 senses will die. But the astral body will not die. Astral body is the thing that travels from one place to another. And this astral body carries several things. In this astral body, there's a storage facility called Chitta Santana. In this Chitta Santana, there are 5 things that are stored in that. For understanding, let's say there are 5 boxes. So let's say box number 1 contains wholesome qualities that we have. Our Maitri quality, Karuna quality, Mudita quality, and Upekka quality. And box number 2 has all the merits that we have accumulated by practicing Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So these are wholesome qualities. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities that we have in box 1. They are wholesome qualities. And in box 2, we have our merits, the merits that we have accumulated and not yet used. Then box number 3 has our unwholesome qualities, Raga, Dvesha, Moha qualities that we have developed throughout our samsara. And box number 4 have all the sins that we have accumulated by practicing Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Hope that is clear to you. And box number 5 has past memories. When we say past memories of, Lord Buddha said, up to 91 kalpas. Kalpa is a eon, a very, very long period of time. And Lord Buddha said, memories of 91 kalpas will be stored in there. So everything that we have learned in previous lives, we have done, the people that we have met, everything, all the past memories will be there. It's just that we don't have the retrieving power. If you use the computer language, I know all of you understand that. We don't have the mental retrieving power to dig up that information. But as we reduce our, through the practice of meditation, Buddha Dhamma and Buddha meditation, as we reduce our Raga, Dvesha, Moha qualities and improve Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities, once we come to a certain level, we'll be able to go back to several lives and retrieve information from there. It's the wisdom that we need, certain part of wisdom that allows us to retrieve that information. That's what Lord Buddha said, when a person becomes anagami, he can go back to 200 lives. Now, when people are hypnotized, that's the technique that the hypnosis used. That is also a universal law they are using. They are, putting, suppressing that person's raga, desha, moha temporary. And by doing that, his Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka will be stronger than raga, desha, moha. Then he will have the retrieving power to go into the Chitta Santana and retrieve that information. It's not that he's using a telescope or something and looking in the sky. No, it's not. It's within himself, in the Chitta Santana, which he has in the astral body. In box number 1, box number 5, he or she will find all the past memories. So when we are hypnotized, that's what the hypnosis do. Maybe 1 life, maybe 2, 3 lives. He'll be able to take him back and retrieve information. I don't know how long they can go back. It depends on the mental strength of the hypnosis, as well as the wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities of the person who is undergoing hypnosis. So that's the Chitta Samtana. That's how the Chitta Samtana works. So when we die, it's the astral body that travels. So inside the astral body, it's taking the Chitta Samtana, which has these 5 boxes containing our wholesome qualities, accumulated merits, unwholesome qualities, accumulated sins, and the past memories. And that is what we will carry to the next life. How the life is created, Lord Buddha has explained in the Paticcasamuppada Dhamma. He said, Avijja Pachya Sankara, Sankara Pachya Vijnana, Vijnana Pachya Nama Rupam, Nama Rupachya Salayatanam, Salayatan Pachya Passo, Passa Pachya Vedana, Vedana Pachya Tanha, Tanha Pachya Upadana, Upadana Pachya Bhava, Bhava Pachya Jati. So I'm not going to go into details on that. We will discuss it in the Sotapanna series. Few steps I will very, very briefly describe. Avijja Pachya Sankara. Avijja means moha, not knowing, ignorance of Dhamma. Vidya means the science of Vijja. Now in Magadhi language, they call it Vijja. In Sinhala language, we call it Vidya. So Avijja, Vijja means knowing the Dhamma, universal laws. Avijja means ignorance of Dhamma. So Avijja Pachya Sankara, because the person is ignorant of Dhamma, not knowing Dhamma, Avijja Pachya Sankara. Sang means Raga Desha Moha, Kara means action. He's taking action mentally, physically, or verbally. He's creating Raga Desha Moha. So Avijja Pachya Sankara, Sankara Pachya Vijnana. When he does Sankara through Rupa Vedana Sanya, Sankara Vijnana, he's creating the Vijnana. Vijnana Pachya Nama Rupam. Vijnana is the thing that creates the body, eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. Vijnana Pachya Nama Rupam. Nama Rupa Pachya Salayata. Like that, it goes on explaining how the human life is created, how this cycle of birth and rebirth is created. Lord Buddha has explained in the Paticcasamuppada Dhamma. Basic Paticcasamuppada Dhamma we all can understand, but the most advanced Paticcasamuppada Dhamma, even the Venerable Arahat Sariputta Thera couldn't understand, because you can go into so much deep on the technical side of the Paticcasamuppada Dhamma. Anyone can understand the basics, like Rupa, Avijja Pachya Sankara, Sankara Pachya Vijnana, and so on, that anyone can understand. And that understanding is enough for us, especially at the Sotapanna level. So we'll be discussing that at Sotapanna level. We have another 3 minutes to go. Let me see what else I can explain there. I think before I'm going into another topic, which is the Chitta which is the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, I will stop there, and it's a logical point to stop and give you time to ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any number of questions. I'm glad to see that we have 15 people joined today. Thanks to Mr. Sunil Patel. I wasn't going to do this. I had no idea of doing this series, this short series. It was Mr. Sunil Patel from Pennsylvania who initiated this. And thanks to Sunil, and it's lots of merits to Sunil, because of Sunil's thoughts, kind thoughts, wholesome thoughts, that everyone got the opportunity to learn this Dhamma. And I also got the opportunity to teach this Dhamma and earn merits for myself. Thank you very much, Sunil, and lots of merits to you.
Yeah, thank you, Banteji.
Right. You can fire away your questions.
Banteji, Naksen.
Yes, Naksen.
Yeah, in terms of pure Dhamma.
And Naksen, your line is very faint. Can you speak louder?
Yeah. When we talk on the pure Dhamma,
yes.
Is there any place for Abhidhamma in that? Or Abhidhamma is again a sect of pure Dhamma only? Or, I mean, what is the relation between Abhidhamma and pure Dhamma?
Yes, good question. You see, Abhidhamma is the technical side of Dhamma. Now, the best example I can give, you see, Lord Buddha taught Abhidhamma only to the superior beings who came from Divyaloka and Brahmaloka and asked him questions. Abhidhamma is the technical side. The best way to explain that is Dhamma is, let's say, if you take a car, if you take an example as a car, learning to drive a car from A to B and getting a license is learning Dhamma and becoming Arahat, right? But if one wants to learn the technical side of the car, how does the engine works? How does the combustion system works? Where does the petrol come from? How do the pistons go up and down? How does the gearbox work? How does the suspension system work? That's the technical side of the car, right? So the Abhidhamma is the technical side of Dhamma. Lord Buddha did not explain that to human beings because it's not necessary for us to go all the way to Arahat. But superior beings who came from Divyaloka and Brahmaloka to see him, they ask him a lot of questions. And their intelligence and wisdom is higher than human beings. So to them, Lord Buddha explained Abhidhamma. That's why it's kept in a separate part. You see, in any sutra which has Abhidhamma, you will see that Lord Buddha has not explained it to human beings. It's not recommended. Remember, Lord Buddha, while he was traveling through the forest, he picked up 4 leaves from a tree, and he said, this is all I'm explaining to Upasaka, Upasika, and that's all you need to eradicate our suffering. Once we have become Arahat, then the Arahat monks learned, because superior beings used to come and question them as well, right? Once you have become Arahat, one day you can learn. But until then, you see, how can I put it? It will make life difficult if one tries to learn Abhidhamma. You see, when we are trying to learn to drive a car, we want to get the license as soon as possible, isn't it? You see, let me give you another example. A graduate comes out of a university, young graduate, right? And he's looking for a particular job, and he finds that job with a company. Company gives him an offer. They offer him a very good salary and the job that he likes. But there's one condition: he should get driving license within a week. The company says, we will give you the best instructor in the country. We will bear all the cost. And if you listen to what he says and follow his instructions, you will pass your test within a week and the job is yours. If you don't, then you don't get the job. So the graduate agrees. So the following day, he meets the driving instructor. Instructor comes with him and he shows him about the car. He says, before you get into the car, you first check the tires and make sure there's enough air in the tires. Then you open the bonnet. You check whether there's enough oil and water. We are talking of a traditional car. Then he says, this is how you open the bonnet, this is how you close the bonnet. He shows everything to him from A to Z. Then he will show him how to open the door and sit in the car. Then he will sit in the driving seat and he will show him the steering wheel and explain what he does, explain to him about what the accelerator, brake, and the clutch does, and the handbrake and the gear, all those things, how to use the mirror. He will explain everything to him. So the student will listen carefully, he will learn, and then he will take the instructor will take him to ground where they can practice driving, a place where there are no people. So he will let him drive, slowly, learning little by little. Firstly, he will teach him the basics, and within a couple of days, he will pick up basic driving. Then he will take him to a country road where there's no traffic, let him drive around. Then he's more confident. Then he will take him to a busier road, and the following day, busier road. Final day, he will take him to the motorway, the highway, and let him teach him the highway rules as well. So after 7 days, if the student does exactly what the instructor said, he will pass this test and get the license. That's his objective, right? He had limited time. If he does what the instructor says, he will do it. On the other hand, instead of doing what the instructor says, he will start asking questions like, how does the engine work? How does the combustion system work? Where does the petrol come from? Where does the oil come from? What does the oil do to the engine? What happens if you go without oil? What happens if all these questions, if he's asking, then he'll be diverted from the main object, which is to pass the test and get the license, and he'll be confused, and he will not pass the test within 7 days, and he will not get the job, right? So similarly, we have a limited time. Our target is to become Sotapanna. So our job is to learn the basic Dhamma, as Lord Buddha explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. There's no Abhidhamma there, right? It's basic Dhamma, and that's what the Panchavagya Bhikkhu learned and became Sotapanna. That's the best example for us, We should follow that example, right? Then we can become Sotapanna quickly within the time periods that Lord Buddha explained. Lord Buddha said about 1% of the people will become Sotapanna within 7 days. About less than half the people will become Sotapanna within 7 weeks. A little less than half of the people will become Sotapanna within 7 months. And the remaining less than 1%, what he called the Padaparama, people with the least amount of intelligence and wisdom, even they will become Sotapanna within 7 years if they try hard and learn correct Dhamma and practice it correctly, right? So these time periods will work for anyone as long as they practice it as Lord Buddha said. If they divert from that and try to learn Abhidhamma and all that, they will get confused. Instead of learning to drive the car, he will become half mechanic and half driver, neither mechanic nor driver. He will get no license, no job. So in our case, people will not comprehend Dhamma, not become Sotapanna within the required time. So the target is to become Sotapanna, not to become a Dhamma expert. So the best way is to go as Lord Buddha explained. As human beings, for us, best thing is learn Dhamma and become Sotapanna first. Then Lord Buddha has given the meditation techniques in Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, 4 main meditation techniques, Chaturarakka, Mettanusati, Marananusati, Asubhanusati, and Buddhanusati. You select 1 or 2 that you like and you practice it, and you can go all the way up to Arahathood. So that's what Lord Buddha explained. So we have to follow that path. The moment we deviate from Lord Buddha's advice, we are asking for trouble. Does that answer your question, Nagsen?
Yeah, Bhanteji, thanks for that. I mean, we have to focus first on the spiritual side, not on the technical side.
Exactly. We concentrate on the theory, the basics. Understand the basics and become Sotapanna. When you become Sotapanna, you will know. No one can tell other than Samma Sambuddha. Others can guess. Right. Others can see that a change in you, but only you will know. Firstly, several things happen to you automatically. It's a gradual process. It's not going to happen overnight, It's a gradual process unless you fall within that top 1% who will comprehend Dhamma within 1 or 2 hours. People like Sopaka, Sunita, Rahula, Visakha, they became Sotapanna within 1 or 2 hours. But most people today, they will take up to 7 weeks or 7 months, more than 98% of them. And you see, the moment, it will be a gradual process. Eventually, they will receive 4 Buddha Jnanas. Samma Sambuddha has 73 Buddha Jnanas. Buddha Jnana means special wisdoms that a Samma Sambuddha get. A Sotapanna person will get 4 of them. Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Jnanam. Then Lord Buddha said, Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Jnanam, Ayang Uchati Bhikkhave Sammaditthi. And that person has come to Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi is the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. So the Noble Eightfold Path, the person who becomes Sammaditthi, Sang means Raga Desha Moha, Ma means completely eradicating, Ditti means the vision. So he has got the vision of how to eradicate Raga Desha Moha completely. So once you have got that, he is Sotapanna. Sotapanna means, Sota means Nibbana Marga, Apanna means arrived at. So he has arrived at the Nibbana Marga and there's no going back. So he has completed the first fold, Sammaditthi. Then he has to complete the rest of the 7 and he knows how to do it. He has got the full vision. You see, he knows how to do Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. Right? So that's what Lord Buddha said in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Idanko Pana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudaya Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satchang. Then he says Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, the Noble Eightfold Path. How to eradicate Raga Desha Moha, right? So the person who has come to Samma Ditti knows that how to do it. It's a question of sitting down and doing it now.
Yeah, exactly.
And also he has eradicated 3 of the 10 bonds that binds him to the samsara. The 10 bonds are Sakkaya Ditti Vicikiccha Silabbata Paramasa, Kamaraga Patiga Ruparaga Aruparaga Mana Uddacha Avidya. Out of those 10, he has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti Vicikiccha Silabbata Paramasa. That's what Lord Buddha explained in Ratana Sutra. Sahavasa Dasana Sampadaya Tayasu Dhamma Jahida Bhavanti Sakkaya Ditti Vicikiccha Kancha Silabbatang Vapiyachachikinchi. That person has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti Vicikiccha Silabbata Paramasa Chatuapaye Hichavipamutto. Chatuapa means the 4 hells. That person will never ever go to the 4 hells again. So he said that in the Ratana Sutra. In many, many sutras, Lord Buddha has repeated that. So that's what the first target should be. Protect ourselves from the 4 hells. We don't want to go there. We don't want to be born as an animal or a bhuta or preta or go to the hell itself. We don't want to go there. If we go there, we'll be there for several kalpas. We won't be able to come out. Right? So that's what we have to protect ourselves from. You see, that's the most dangerous thing that people are facing. People don't realize it. People who do not know Dhamma, you see, if they are not in the Sotapanna Marga, even I know all the people who followed the 3 series are in the Sotapanna Marga. At least some of them are very close to become Sotapanna, in my opinion. Some of them might be Sotapanna, I don't know. But a lot of them understand and comprehend the Dhamma very well, I'm happy to say. And in their case, if they are Sotapanna, they are completely protected from the 4 hells. And if they're in the Sotapanna Marga and close to the Sotapanna stage, and there's a very good possibility, if they died now without becoming Sotapanna, they will come back to the human world. They will not go to the 4 hells. If you are close to become, if you are in the Sotapanna Marga and close to become Sotapanna, then there's a very strong probability that wholesome thoughts will come to your last thoughts, right? If you are close to Sotapanna. Majority of the people who are on the Sotapanna Marga will come back to the human world. But there's a possibility if you could go down. if they get unwholesome thoughts as last thoughts in their mind before they die. But
Right.
once you are Sotapanna, you have nothing to worry about. You have passed that level, you are protected forever. You have a samsara insurance policy.
Right. Right, Bhanteji. I understood, like it is a gradual process, what Buddha has also mentioned in various suttas. Like you also mentioned, there are stages. Like first you have to become a Sotapanna, then Sagutagami, Anagami, and then Arhat. It is a gradual, step-by-step, milestone-based process. One has to go through these all processes and get the last hood. But in terms of Abhidhamma, like if you say that the person, I mean, if you go to the stage of Nirvana, does that mean that you also got the technical side fully, and uh, you are now omniscience and you got everything? The wisdom is
You
high.
see, once you have become Arahat, that means you are a qualified driver, right? But what you need to do, what you want to become is a qualified driver, not a mechanic. Is it necessary to become a mechanic? For some of them, it might be necessary, because if they are driving very long distances, let's say they are driving from in a big country like Canada, if they're driving Canada or USA, if they're driving 2,000-3,000 miles, and let's say there's no support in certain areas, if the car breaks down, maybe it will be useful to have a mechanical knowledge, isn't it? But he will try to learn that after getting the license, depending on his requirement. Not everyone will need that. Similarly, some Arhat monks went ahead and learned Abhidhamma because they needed to explain them to, certain superior beings who came to them. Very senior Arhat monks like Venerable Sariputta Arahattero, Venerable Moggallana Arahattero, great Arhat monks like that, after becoming Arhat, they went and learned some Abhidhamma. But it was not recommended for people who are not Arahat.
Okay.
Because that will divert us from our main objective, especially those who are trying to become Sotapanna. You see, it's not recommended at all. It will only divert us, waste our valuable time from the main object that we are trying to achieve.
Right, Bhanteji. So in the stage of Arhat, can we assume that Arhat monks are eligible to understand Abhidhamma and the
Well, they will have to learn, you see. Now, Arahat monks have different status. Now, not only every Arahat monk can explain Dhamma, half the Arahat monks didn't even preach Dhamma. In fact, as the Pacceka Buddha will never preach Dhamma because he cannot explain, right? He cannot explain how he comprehended it.
Right. So it is something which has to experience and
Yes, you see, Sunya Samma Sambuddha, it depends on one's paramita and one's merits and sins and wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities. There are so many permutations and combinations here one could have. So depending on the various permutations and combinations, some people, some Arhat monks can preach, some cannot, some can travel in the air, some cannot, some can do certain things, some cannot. It varies from monk to monk, right? Even once they are Arahat, they have different status. One thing they have in common is all of them have eradicated Raga, Desha, Moha completely. Every Arahat monk has that in common. Every Arahat monk, every Pacceka Buddha, every Samma Sambuddha, one thing they have in common is they have eradicated Raga, Desha, Moha completely.
right. Thank you, Bhanteji. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Any other
Bhanteji?
questions, anyone?
Yeah, Bhanteji, this is Sunil.
Hello, Sunil.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the wholesome and unwholesome deeds.
Yes.
Okay, for example, if some person needs help from me, and it's
Can you
not in my
speak up, Sunil? Little louder. I can hardly hear you.
okay. Can you hear me now?
A little better, yes.
Okay. So if some person needs help from me and it's not in my control that, I can help him, and I could not help him and he got sad because, I could not help him. So is that deed wholesome or unwholesome from my side?
Well, when your friend or someone comes to you and asks for help, it depends on what kind of thought you have in your mind first. If the first thought in your mind was, I must try and help him, I must see whether I could help him, right? Not with
Okay.
the intention of getting anything back, but with the intention of earning merits to, fulfill your path, complete your path. That's your objective. If you are sotapanna or close to that, always that thought will come to your mind before you do something, right? So you will see, instead of saying no straight away, you will sit down with him and talk to him and try think about every possible way that you can help him. And if you can't, eventually you say, I'm sorry, I thought of everything, but I cannot think of any way of helping you. But I will see if I can find someone, right? And you genuinely try to find someone if you know. Otherwise, you say, sorry, I don't know anyone. So there you have, you see, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts throughout the conversation, right? You are developing
Right.
your wholesome qualities, you are releasing positive energy into the environment, and you are strengthening your prajna instead of vijnana. All three good things are happening. But on the other hand, if you are very busy with your work and this person comes and asks for something, and in your mind you says, what a nuisance, I'm so busy and he's coming and disturbing me. If you start with that thought, then your entire thought process during that conversation will be negative, isn't it?
Right.
Unwholesome.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to understand it, you see.
Okay. Yeah.
If you learn
Thanks.
Dhamma and if you practice it for a while, when you get close to Sotapanna, always this thought will come to your mind. You see, in Dveda Vitaka Sutra, Lord Buddha said, always when the thought comes to your mind, see whether it's Raga, Desha, Moha, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. If it is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, you take into your mind, the terminology he uses, Bhikkhu Bodhi has uses, is very nice. He says, ponder upon it. He pondered upon it, cultivated it, developed the thought. So if the thought is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, good. If Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts, that's something wrong with the qualities that we have. If every time when a thought comes to our mind, and if we look at it and if it is Raga, Dvesha, Moha, we have to, get rid of it. We won't let that go into our mind, and we won't ponder upon it, or we won't cultivate that thought.
Okay. Yeah.
Does
Makes
that
sense.
make
Thank you.
sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't worry about it at this stage. Once we go to Sotapanna level, we will discuss it in more detail. And once you start practicing little by little, it's the practice that makes you comprehend. You see, when you listen to Dhamma, you get a rough idea, right? It's like playing cricket. If you read a book, right? How to play the
Yeah.
forward defense, how to play the back foot defense, how to play the cut shot, how to play the hook shot. Can you learn by reading a book? Can you learn by listening to someone? No, right?
No.
You can get a rough idea. And when you play it, actually, when you practice it only, you realize how to do it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So it's the practice that is necessary. You see, first you have to learn, of course. Lord Buddha said, Janato passato. Janato means you listen and learn first. Passato, you practice it and, you comprehend it.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Bandaji.
You are welcome, sir.
Namo Buddhaya Bante, it's Hardika.
Hi, Hardika. Namo Buddhaya, Chabin.
I am wondering about something.
Yes.
Say if you pay for a service,
Yes.
and you're not getting the service you expected,
Yes.
and you become aware of starting to get angry.
Yes.
So what do you do in that situation?
Well, you have to get rid of the anger, you see. If you are getting angry about something, that means your raga, dvesha, moha qualities are stronger. That's what you have to realize, right? So you have to, firstly, in that moment, you have to deal with the moment. You have to get rid of the thought. And secondly, you have to sit down and think, why is this, anger comes to me all the time? The reason is my anger qualities are stronger. So you have to practice loving kindness meditation to make your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka quality stronger. And by doing that, your Raga, Desha, Moha qualities will get weakened, right?
And do you about expectations? I know, like, we talk about not having expectations,
Yes.
but then when you've paid for a particular service,
yes,
and you're not getting the service,
so
so
what you have to do it in that situation, you are paying good money and you want to make sure that you get a reasonable service, right? So you talk to the person who's providing the service and find out exactly what he's doing. And if it is worthwhile, you pay, otherwise you don't, right? You don't take the service. And if he cheated you, then he has been craftier than you. He will explain you one thing and do something else. But rather than, now you have suffered one loss anyway, right? You have paid him more than what you got back. And in addition to that, you don't want to develop anger and cause another problem for you.
no,
right?
that's not. Yes.
Just forget about it and don't go to him again, him or her, right?
Yeah.
Find a better person. Say, it's your hairdresser or doctor or whoever, right?
Yeah.
Don't go to him or her again. But just because he, didn't give you the right service, you have already made one loss. That's my past karma. But thank you very much. You helped me to get rid of some past karma. I will come back to you again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bante. I
But
also
don't
have
get angry.
Yes, I know. I'm. Yes, thank you. I'm working on that one. But I have another question about the two bodies. When we die,
Yes.
you mentioned we've got the physical and the astral body, and
Yes.
so the physical body dies, and the physical
Yes.
body we've got consists of, obviously the eyes, the ears, the tongue, all that
Yes.
kind of stuff,
Yes.
and the mind as well.
No,
Now,
there's no mind there in the astral body. Mind is dead, isn't it?
No, so the mind's in the physical body, right?
Mind goes with the physical body. The six senses, isn't it? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind.
Yeah.
All six will die. And when you go to the next life, you create another mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
You see, our vijnana power, within our chitta santana, we have our wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities. As long as unwholesome qualities are there, even a little bit, it produces vijnana power, right? Until we get rid of unwholesome qualities completely, raga, dvesha, moha, we'll be born somewhere in the 31 planes, right? If we are born somewhere, now, if it is starting from the bottom, let's say 4 hells or human world or the Divya Loka, we will have all 6 senses: eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. But when you go to Brahma Loka, depending on different Brahma Loka, you don't have a body. It's only the mind. Mind will be also in different status, right? Depending on the strength of his wholesome qualities and unwholesome qualities. And finally, when you get rid of all the unwholesome qualities, it's only the mind that travels to Nibbana.
It's really interesting because mind is not a physical entity, is it?
No, it's not. It's actually it's the mental, it's the astral body that travels to Nibbana. In that only you don't have any unwholesome qualities. You only have wholesome qualities. So once it is in the Nibbana, once it goes to Nibbana, it's only capable of creating a mind full of prajna, and it doesn't have vijnana, right? You say astral body is something you can't see. Mind is you cannot see, right?
Mm.
It's an energy. Can we see energies? We
No.
can't, can we?
That's
Can we
right.
see the wind? Can we see the heat?
Mm.
Can we see, certain energies? We can't. Can we see oxygen? Can we see nitrogen? We can't, can we?
Mm-hmm.
Those are energies, you see. Those are complicated things. Don't worry about those things. Let's try and get the Four Noble Truths, right?
Mm.
Understood, comprehended, practice, and comprehend the Four Noble Truths at the first level and become Sotapanna. Yourself from the four hells. Then when you go to that hairdresser next time when he cheated you, you won't get angry. You will thank him for helping you to get rid of some of your bad karma. You see, if you can pay the money and get rid of bad karma, so much the better, isn't it? Instead of getting angry, you should buy him a present.
Thank you, Bhante. Oh.
Vandami Bhanteji.
Now, Budaya, is that Archana?
Yes, Bhanteji. I'm Archana Patni.
Hello.
Bhanteji, one question I have.
Yes.
This how to increase Kushala thoughts?
Kushala thoughts. You see, we have to practice loving kindness meditation.
Okay,
As
only
simple as that. You see, Kushala thoughts are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts, right? For those thoughts to originate in our mind, our Kusala qualities, wholesome qualities, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities should be stronger. To make them stronger, we have to practice, right? If a cricketer wants to make it, say, his, let's say, certain stroke, cut shot stronger, he will keep practicing and practicing and practicing, won't he? If a tennis player wants to, improve his backhand, he will keep practicing and practicing and practicing, improve the backhand quality. Similarly, if you want to improve your wholesome qualities, kusal qualities, that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, you have to practice them in your mind. That's where loving kindness meditation comes in. So you have to sit down, or whenever, you don't necessarily have to sit down. Lord Buddha said you can practice meditation in 4 positions, either sitting down, standing up, walking, or lying down. When you are going to work in the bus, or if you are driving, be careful. But while driving also, many people practice loving kindness meditation. But other than that, if you are traveling to work by train or bus, you can practice. While you are cooking, you can practice. While you are having a bath, you can practice. While you are having your lunch, breakfast, whatever, you can practice loving kindness meditation. You can develop it that way. Develop your loving kindness qualities. So the stronger your loving kindness qualities, greater the probability of when Rupa Vedana Sanya comes to your mind will create a thought with loving kindness, right? Loving kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. In other words, kusal thought. Creating a kusal thought is the important thing, right? Wholesome thought. For creating the wholesome thought, your wholesome qualities must be stronger than the unwholesome qualities. Because when the Rupa Vedana Sanya comes to your mind is like a central processing unit. Just for an example, actually that's the way that Lord Buddha has explained the way mind works. By learning that only they made the computer, right? So mind is the central processing unit. Rupa Vedana Sanya is the data that comes in. And there are 2 programs that can process this data and produce information. One program is called Vijnana, the bad program. The good program is called Prajna. So if your Prajna program is stronger, that means your wholesome qualities, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities are stronger. So when Rupa Vedana Sanya comes to your mind, your wholesome program, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka program will jump in first and start processing, in other words, constructing a thought with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. That's what the Arahat person does all the time. That's why Lord Buddha said, Visankara gatang chittang tanhayang kayamajyasti. Instead of sankara, he does visankara. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, Bhanteji. Yes. Thank you, Bhanteji.
So without making it too complicated, all you have to do is practice loving kindness meditation correctly. Whenever you have the opportunity, just practice loving kindness meditation. Your loving kindness meditation quality will improve.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bhanteji. One more question I have, Bhanteji.
Go on.
Last time
No, you
you
can
said,
ask any number of questions, more the merrier.
okay, Bhante. Last time you said that Lord Buddha didn't tell anything about Panchashila.
Yes.
He only told Kamisu Michachara Veramani. One
Yeah,
Shila.
that's all. There is one sila in Buddha Dhamma, and that if you practice that sila, you are observing uncountable number of sila. There's one discipline you have to practice. The discipline is controlling your six senses: eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. So if you do that, you will not commit the big sins like killing, stealing, lying, getting drunk. None of those things you will do. Those are the big ones, you see. Now, because people couldn't understand what they mean by controlling the six senses, Lord Buddha, laid down 229 rules for monks, which monks used to break all the time. You see? Remember, I told you the story. One monk wanted to leave. He came to Lord Buddha and said, I am disturbing myself. Lord Buddha asked why. He said, yet alone observing these 229 disciplines, I can't even remember them. How can I observe them? Then Lord Buddha said, don't worry, can you remember and practice one discipline? He said, of course, one I can. Then Lord Buddha said, watch your mind. Make sure your mind will not create raga, desha, moha thoughts. That's all you have to do. So if you do that, you will not kill, you will not steal, you will not lie, you will not do any of the 10 big sins. That's all you have to do. In the Tripitaka, there's no place where Lord Buddha has explained the Panchasila. He has explained the Kotyak Sangvara Sila. Kotyak means unlimited number of disciplines you will observe by watching your mind, by controlling your mind. Only one thing you have to do to observe all the disciplines under the sun, not just 5, not just 10. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Bhanteji, yes. Very good.
You cannot explain this to a child. That's why for children, we teach Panchasila, right? Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, like that. Now, there's a sutra called Salleka Sutra in Majjhima Nikaya. In that, Lord Buddha has explained 44 disciplines that children should observe, right? And practice. So similarly, children can't comprehend unlimited number of disciplines. Children cannot comprehend Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, and Sankara and Visankara. All these things children, 5-year-old children can't understand. That's why we teach them Panchasila.
Yes.
But not for adults. You see, adults it's like learning the Panchasila is the Montessori level. But when you become an adult, you are not going to play with the dinky toys that you played in the nursery school, are you?
Yes,
you are going to do advanced things. You will be driving a car. You are not going to drive dinky toys. So it's children's, those Panchasila and things like that. They are there for children to understand more complicated things that they cannot understand. That is there to simplify. But Lord Buddha has never explained Panchasila anywhere in the Tripitaka. Tripitaka explains Kotyak Sangvara Sila. Kotyak means unlimited number. Sangvara, Sang means Raga, Desha, Moha. Vara means getting rid of. Right? Unlimited number of silas that helps you to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha. Sangvara. Kotyak Sangvara Sila. Sila is disciplines. So all you have to do is watch your mind, make sure no Ragadesha Moha thoughts will come to your mind and you will not do anything wrong. Would you agree?
Yes, Bhanteji. Only observing our mind, what comes
Yes.
in our mind at this time.
That's all you have to
No,
do, and
Bhante?
that's the hardest thing to do. You see, that's why you have to meditate and train your mind. Because you see, throughout
Yes.
our samsara, trillions and trillions and trillions of lives, all we have done is sankara, thinking of creating thoughts with raga, desha, moha. So our mind is used to a certain way. So changing it the other way is not easy. It takes time and effort. Some people can do it quickly, some people it takes longer. It depends on how hard you try.
Bhanteji, then what about Ashtashila, which some we take on Uposatha?
Ashtanga Sila, Dasa Sila, you know, they are all the same, isn't it?
Same. Okay.
They are all part of those Kotyak Sangvara Sila.
Okay. Thank you, Bhanteji.
It's good, you see, because those things are taught later by monks, because people cannot understand, you know, it's difficult to explain this Raga, Dvesha, Moha and how Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Not everyone could understand. Then the monk sat down and said, okay, can you stop doing these 5 things every day? And once a month, can you stop doing 8 things or 10 things? Like that, you know, gradually they train those people. Those are training tactics. But you will see, if you think about it, if you control your mind and not allow Raga, Desha, Moha thoughts to come in, then you will be observing the Panchasila automatically, then you will be automatically observing the Ashtanga Sila, and automatically observing the Dasa Sila. Not only Dasa Sila, you are observing trillions and trillions of silas, uncountable number of silas. All you have to do is stop thinking of Raga, Desha, Moha. Manopubbangama Dhamma Manosetta Manomaya. Manasache Paduttena Basativa Karotiva. It's the first verse in Dhammapada. Does that make sense to you, Archana?
Yes, Bhanteji. Yes. Thank you.
You are welcome, ma'am. Anyone else?
Bhanteji, can I share my experience?
Yes, please. Very useful.
Yeah, I mean, it's relevant to Hadiga's question. I mean, it's good to hear her from a long time.
Yes.
I mean, expecting or not having an expectation is also an kind of a expectation only. Post attending the sessions and doing Yona Simanasekar after the Sotapanna 2 series is what I have attended, and doing a loving and kindness meditation. I used to deal with various vendors and do a lot of stuff with them. They do not provide the service as per the expectation, but we don't know like what stages they go through, what is the reason they could not deliver the things, or the services are not as per the expectation. Whatever happens is happen. The reality of the moment, or the fact of the moment, is something which is the result what we expect, that it is not happening as per our expectation. And anger is something which gets generated when you think that it is not matching with your expectation. So if
Yes.
you
Yampi Changnalabati Tampi Dukkang, you are not getting what you want,
right,
what you are expecting.
yeah, but
that is what Lord Buddha meant in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Yampi Ichang Nalabati Tampi Dukkam.
Right. But once you started accepting the reality of the moment, what is the reality of the moment? What is the fact of the moment? Is what delivery or what expectation we have is not what we are getting. So if we started accepting that, our love and kindness actions will start acting in the background, and you will automatically think in the direction of accepting what is happening in the current situation. So that was the experience when I started doing a love and kindness experience. Meditation and observing the facts or observing the situation the way it is and trying to accept the same thing. And the second thing, like what it again got a strike from Hardika's statement that mind is not a physical entity. Yeah. Is it true? Like mind is also a physical entity, because the existence of mind is what I associate myself or the I with it. That is something which is a mind or mental fabrication, isn't it?
Yes, my mind is an energy that we cannot see.
Yeah, the energy which we cannot see, but how we will define it? The energy, like the law of energy, what we have learned in our academics, that energy cannot be generated, or it's going from one form to another form.
You see, don't mix up what the academics are saying with what Lord Buddha said. Sometimes academics are 1,000 miles behind. What the academics said 10 years ago, now they are saying things completely differently, right? There's the professor we have here, a medical professor called Dr. Chula Gunasekara, who is a professor at King's College London. He was once the dean of the medical faculty of one of the universities in Sri Lanka, a university called Peradeniya University. And he told me one day, every 10 years, we realize that what we learned previously is all lies, and we have to keep changing things. That's what the modern science is all about. They are learning by trial and error. But what Lord Buddha said hasn't changed for the past 2,500 years, because he has comprehended what he said. And the scientists are not comprehending what they are saying. And with reasonable, with reasonable doubt, they are saying this is this. But after some time, it turns out that it is wrong, some of the things. So don't compare, don't try to analyze Buddha Dhamma according to what the academics are saying in physics or chemistry or even in biology for that matter. Leave that aside. We look at what Lord Buddha said, right?
Right.
And what we need to do is to become Sotapanna. We don't need to go into deep level of analyzing the mind. All we have to understand is how the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana and Rupa Vedana Sanya Visankara Prajna works in our mind, right? Trying to go beyond that level is not necessary, right? So let's leave it at that. We learn at this level. It's like, when we are studying, let's say, mathematics, we learn maths to a certain level at A level, right? We don't mix up bachelor's level mathematics with A level. Then when we go to bachelor's, if we do mathematics, we are taking it to a higher level, master's even higher level, PhD's in a higher level. So let's go step by step, rather than going into very advanced aspects of mind, trying to describe it when we are at the Sotapanna level, or in your case, it might be, you might be already Sotapanna and slightly higher, but still it's not necessary for us to go into so much deep in the mind. Then we are going into the Abhidhamma side, you see.
Right. Yeah.
So let's not, go into the technical side. Let's understand the basics. How the Rupa Vedana Sanya comes to the mind, how the mind does Sankara or Visankara and produces Prajna or Vijnana. As long as we understand that, that's all we need to understand to become Sotapanna and go all the way up to Arhathood.
Right. Yeah. I was also interested, Bantiji, like we did 3 series now, and really doing the meditation techniques and following.
And Nagsen, again, your voice is very faint. Can you get closer to the mic or speak louder?
Yeah, Bantiji, it is it little bit clear now?
Yeah, it's better now, Nagsen.
Yeah, I was saying I was interested to know to get more like what after this 3 series, to go more
Yes.
deeper into the Dhamma discussions and doing, brainstorming. And like I was reading that Pure Dhamma, which is a very good scientific site, what you have shared.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's having a lot of good knowledge and wisdom out of that. Uh, but to go into the more deeper in from that perspective, do we have any plan to discuss or I mean to have some sessions on related to that?
Well, in the Sotapanna series, Nagsen, I want to go only up to Sotapanna, because in our Sotapanna group, I know few people who have either become Sotapanna or very close to Sotapanna, right? Once they have come to that level, you see, all they have to do is the meditation. They have to learn the 4 meditation techniques, what Lord Buddha has explained in the Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, and practice them, right? That's all they need up to until Arahathood. Excuse me. After becoming Arahat, if they want to learn Abhidhamma, that's fine. I know Pure Dhamma website is very, very good, but you need not go into the Abhidhamma side. You see, I know that Professor Lal Pinnadu has explained some Abhidhamma there also, but it's not recommended for anyone. It's not necessary to go all the way up to Arhathood, you see. Now, by learning the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, everything you need to become Sotapanna is there, right? And if you learn the Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, again, a very straightforward sutra, there Lord Buddha has explained, firstly, the 4 meditation techniques, Chaturaraka, and those 4 meditation techniques, out of the 4, Metta-anusati, that's loving kindness meditation. He has explained only one way of practicing it. Then the Asubha-anusati, Asubha meditation, he has explained 11 different ways of practicing it. Then the other 2, 1. You see, so 11 plus 3, 14. There are 14 different meditation techniques, if you like. Lord Buddha has explained, but it's only 4 major meditation techniques: Metta-anusati, Asubha-anusati, Marana-anusati, and Buddha-anusati. You just have to practice 1 or 2. In my advice to everyone is in Metta Sutra, Lord Buddha said that you can go all the way using the loving kindness meditation, right? So why make it complicated? Just practice loving kindness meditation. If you like, you can practice Asubha Bhavana also. Now, there are some people who find it difficult to get sexual desire out of their mind. And for them, Asubha Bhavana is recommended, right? Looking at the negative side of the human body, Lord Buddha said how to look at the human body as 32 pieces, 32 dirty pieces of an animal or something like that. So you can practice Asubha Bhavana if, most people have that problem. And other than that, loving kindness meditation is enough to go all the way, right? So why make life complicated, bringing in Abhidhamma and all that into that stage?
Right.
Just do the simple, first become Sotapanna. Most probably you are Sotapanna already. And if you want to go beyond that, just practice loving kindness meditation as much as possible. You will see that, your Raga Desha Moha will be going down, and your Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka will be improving. You see, what better to do to improve Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka rather than Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka meditation, which is the Metta Bhavana, right? Maitri Bhavana, right? So that's the best to practice, right? Become a perfect driver first. You can drive anywhere. Become Arahat first, then you can learn Abhidhamma. I haven't thought that far. I am still in Sotapanna level. I mean, good luck to you. Very good if you are thinking that far. See, very good. But don't go into Abhidhamma, that's my opinion. Abhidhamma will make things difficult for you. Right? Before you become a perfect driver, if you try to become a perfect mechanic, you see, it's going to cause problems.
Right, Bhantiji. Bhantiji, will you guide about that Asubha meditation techniques, what you have shared?
Well, one day, I think one day we will do a separate series for we will discuss the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra one day, but not for everyone, right? I don't want to complicate everyone in the Sotapanna group. Let them follow the Sotapanna series, but those who have, I know people like you, Pankaj Meshram, and Archana, and there are a few other people, Vaishali, people like that who have gone a long way, either Sotapanna or close to become Sotapanna. For few people like that, I will explain the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, right?
Thank you.
But I haven't gone beyond Sotapanna level. I am still there. So I am explaining from my knowledge. It might not be perfect. I won't be as confident as I am explaining up to Sotapanna level. But I think what I am explaining is right because I learned it from Arahat monks.
Yes,
I have learned it, but I haven't practiced enough. So I haven't gone beyond Sotapanna, right?
Yes,
so I have passed on the A levels. You're asking me to teach for bachelors. I have learned, but I haven't passed the bachelors. But if you want me, I can teach you, right?
No.
From my
Yes.
knowledge. But I have to say, I think it's right, but it might not be right. Some of the things that I will say, the way I explain Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, right? Because I haven't comprehended that, so I don't have the confidence of explaining Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra as much as I have the confidence in explaining the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, right? But I can explain. I have learned it, but I can explain. But certain questions you ask me, I might not be able to answer, like at the Sotapanna level. But I certainly can explain it to you, yes. There's nothing complicated there. You see, it's very straightforward, like Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra. In fact, when Pankaj Meshram came here from USA, we went to the Buddhist library. You see, in the Buddhist library, normally they don't allow taking photos of any of the sutras. So Pankaj will tell you, Pankaj went with me once, then Ravi Shinde and Kalpana Shinde again from USA, they went there. Right. And a couple of weeks ago, Siddhant Pegare from Aurangabad, he came to do the summer school at LSE, and he went there with me as well. And they will tell you, you see, when every sutra, they keep most of the sutras separately. Like Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is written on gold leaves. And when you open the box, they have put up a label there. If it is a red label or a yellow label, you cannot take photos. You have to sit at a certain desk right in front of the reception. Right. And if it is a green label, you can take photos, but none of the sutras have a green label. Right. But for our good fortune, by mistake, they have put a green label. They had put a green label on Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra. Until Pankaj came and took the photos, that green label was there.
So we are very fortunate, Bhanteji.
We were very fortunate. Then when Ravi Shinde came there and when we started taking photos, the guy who was in charge of the Tripitaka, he saw that, he came laughing. And he said, how come you are taking photos of this, Here, you can ask Ravi and Kalpana. And he changed it immediately. And he said, sorry, you can't take photos. Someone has made a mistake. So we were so lucky that we managed to get copies of the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra for nothing. Right?
Thank you very much, Bhanteji, to you all.
So it is there. You can read it little by little, take the dictionary. It starts saying, Ekaino ayam bhikkave maggo sattanang visuddhya soka parideva dukkha domanasta. Like that, it goes on like that. Because the way it is written, those days they used to write sentences, not words. So breaking words in the middle is difficult. Now, your problem is you don't understand Sinhala language, you see. So someone who can speak Sinhala, who can read Sinhala, can understand. When Pankaj was here for a week. We compiled 6 or 7 pages of the old Tripitaka, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, with the same pages of Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra in the Hindi Tripitaka. And those 6-7 pages agreed word for word.
Yeah. he has shared that experience with us, and
Yes.
yeah, the
So we
Pali.
were so lucky to get that for nothing, you see. Even if you buy it, to buy that, it's 106 pages. It will cost you about 3,000 pounds or more.
Right,
And when you buy that, you have to sign an agreement that you will never ever show it to anyone else.
right,
So you can't even show it to your son or wife according to their law,
right,
right? But if you buy it and you show it to your family or anyone, they are not going to come to India and take legal action against you. All
Yeah.
they will do is cancel your membership at the British Library if they find out.
Yes, Banteji. And so nice of you, Banteji. You agreed to guide on that, and I'm really fortunate that I got you for the other 3 series. I'm thankful to Vinaya as well for that, because she bring us.
You see, we were so lucky. It's your good merits. You see, it's your good merits and our good merits that we got that opportunity. You see, now they cannot blame us. It was their mistake. That's why the curator was laughing. You see? Because Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra is the second most important sutra people would like to buy. The first one is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, which is 50 pages. Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra is 106 pages. Even if you pay 3,000 or 4,000 pounds and buy one set of copies of Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, you cannot share it with anyone. But now we can share it freely because they gave it to us free. And we didn't sign any agreement. They made a mistake. That's why the curator was laughing, you see. So it's our good karma.
Yeah, right,
All of us.
right. Sadhu, 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 Banteji.
I don't think many people have it, Then when Ravi started taking photos, that man came laughing. He saw. You see, the curator is not there at the reception. There are some young people who are at the reception who are supposed to keep an eye on what's going on, and there are cameras everywhere. And those young people don't know. If the yellow label is there, they say sit on that table. If the green label is there, they say sit on this table. They don't know what sutra is, but the curator knows. He's in charge of the Tripitaka, you see. His name is Pascal Manzo.
Oh, I see.
And normally he's not there, he's inside. Very rarely he comes to the reception. That day, he came there and he saw Ravi and I were taking photos and he came laughing. And we didn't know. We thought for some reason they were allowing people to take it. And there was a green label on it. So we were happily taking the photos. And when Pankaj came in front of the reception, you can ask Pankaj, we took the photos. No one objected because it was only the young receptionists who were there, 3 or 4 people. And they don't know anything about the Tripitaka. There's only one person at the British Library, Pascal Manso, as far as I know, who knows about it. And he has some good knowledge of the Tripitaka. And by looking at the sutras, he knows, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, of course, you can see it's gold leaves. And the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra is on copper leaves. So he identifies them. And all the others are on Ola leaves, you see. So he saw it and he came running to us and he was laughing. You can ask Ravi. We were so lucky with Pankaj.
Yeah, right, Banteji. And the beauty of that, Banteji, is it is exactly matching word to word,
Yes.
the Simile as well as the Pali version. Exactly match word to word. That's the
See, I
beauty.
also took photos earlier, about a year ago, but those photos were not so clear, because my camera wasn't as good as Pankaj's camera. Pankaj's photos have come out very clearly and nicely.
Right, right.
We are free to share it with anyone now. You see, anyone asks me, I will send it to them. Anyone in this group who wants the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, please let me know. I can forward it to you. In fact, recently, about a month ago, I forwarded the lot in our Sotapanna group. Did I, Nagsen? I think I did, right?
Yes, Banteji.
Once in a way, I forward it, you see, for people to see, because the new people join in so they can take it. I think before we start the next series on the 25th of September. I'll post it again. I will put all these people also to the Sotapanna group. Some of the people here are not in the Sotapanna group. Excuse me, I haven't plugged my laptop. Any other questions, anyone? Sorry, Vaishali, I forgot to make you a co-host.
Sorry, Bhante, I joined late because on Saturdays I have this university chanting session, Bhante. So I
Okay,
joined
okay,
late. Yeah.
okay.
So
And now only I saw you, and it's too late to make you a co-host
no,
now.
Bhante. No, that's not an issue. Anybody can record, and if required, we can do the processing as required, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Vaishali.
Bhante, so are we going to have the session for next Saturday also at the same time?
Yeah, next Saturday also same time, maybe another 2 or 3 sessions before we start the series. So Aparna series will start on the 25th of September, Sunday, at the usual time that we used to do. Maybe we'll make it, last time we had it 8 o'clock in Indian time and 7:30 in the morning in Los Angeles time. So we'll ask people in Los Angeles, Vaishali and Archana, those people whether 7:30 is okay, and also people in India, whether 8 or 8:30 is better. The only thing is Rashmi in Japan. You know, for her, that she prefers we bring the time forward, and people in Los Angeles prefer we bring, take the time forward, and people in Japan prefer we bring the time backwards. So we'll have to make a compromise there. We'll be having a discussion. In fact, with the Dhamma admin group, I want to have a discussion. I discussed some points with Nagsen the other day. I'm still working on them. In a couple of weeks' time, maybe in now we are in August, maybe towards end of August, I'll organize a meeting for the admin Dhamma group. There are a few things I want to discuss about. Firstly, about the Sotapanna series, 4th series, season 4. Secondly, I have an idea of setting up a global Buddhist community. The idea is on Telegram. The idea is collect as many members as possible from all the Buddhist traditions in all the different countries, and first try and collect 10,000 members. And every time when there's an atrocity against a Buddhist person in India or any other country, we can send a petition signed by 10,000 people to the embassies, Buddhist embassies in that country. For example, I know a lot of problems, a lot of atrocities are taking place against the Buddhist people in India. So we will report to the Buddhist embassies in that country, like the Japanese embassy, the South Korean embassy, Taiwanese embassy, Hong Kong High Commission, Singaporean High Commission, Sri Lankan High Commission, Nepalese High Commission, like that. There are 14 major Buddhist countries, and also we can complain to the American Embassy and Chinese Embassy and so on. That will make some difference, you see, with 10,000 signatures. And if we can have 20,000, 25,000, so much the better. That's one thing that we can do. Secondly, I want to request these rich Buddhist countries. When I say rich Buddhist countries, there are 5 Buddhist countries which has a per capita income greater than UK. The 5 are Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, and Hong Kong. And the governments in those countries, in their annual budget, they provide a substantial provision for promoting Buddha Dhamma in the world. So if we prepare a good project proposal, we can get their help to set up an international teaching center for teaching Buddha Dhamma to children in remote villages in English, teaching English and Buddha Dhamma in English, and providing them internet facility and so on. There are various options we can think of. So there are things like that I have in my mind, and also setting up global Buddhist villages. which we are doing in the UK now. We are doing one in UK and one in Sri Lanka at the moment. So I got 50 acres of land someone donated to me in Sri Lanka. There we are setting up a Buddhist village, 10 acres for the monastery, and the rest we give free of charge, 1 or 2 acres each to people who are prepared to live there and practice Buddha Dhamma full-time, like mainly retired professionals or even professionals who are working from home. Similar thing we are trying to do in UK. We are looking for a land now. And so things like that we can try in other countries also, for example, in India, depending on how many people we have, how many Buddhist people. Most things we can start from Maharashtra, because Maharashtra has the highest percentage of Buddhist people living in India, if I'm not mistaken. Can somebody correct me on that?
Yeah, yes, as on today, Bhante, it's the
So
case.
those things I want to discuss with the Dhamma admin team. Let me get all my thoughts together, and maybe 2 weeks before that, I will circulate a note for all of you to get your thoughts together as well. We'll have the first initial meeting towards the end of August, and we'll have another meeting after 1 month, and then get everyone's ideas together and make a start on the global Buddhist community. The name was suggested by Nagsen.
Okay, Bhante. Yeah, this is so nice to hear. Yeah, and it's something very meaningful. Yeah, thank you so much, Bhante.
You see, as Buddhist people, we have to unite. You see, that was the Bodhisattva Ambedkar's vision, one of the visions he had, to unite the entire Buddhist community in the world under one umbrella. And there will be so many things that we can do. You know, as long as we are organized and united, there are many things we can do. If we are disorganized and not united, there's very little that we can do.
Yes, Bhante. Bhante, I wish to inform you that my father, he
Yes.
passed away on August 4th, Bhante.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, Bhante.
Is that Archana Patel?
I'm Vaishali, Bhante.
Oh, Vaishali. Oh, Vaishali, your father passed away in Nagpur?
Yes, Bhante.
How old was he?
82 years. I think last time I said 84, but 82 years old, Bhante.
Oh, we will transfer merits to him today after the session when we do the transferring of merits. We will mention his name as well. What's his name?
Mr. Ashok Ganpatrao Gedam. Mr. Ashok Gedam.
Oh, Miss Ashok Gaidani?
Gedam.
Geda, okay, Mr.
Yes.
Ashok. Well, I remember Mr. Ashok.
Yes, Bhante.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Ashok Geda, I
Bhante.
will write it down here.
Yes, Bhante.
Any other questions, anyone?
Bhante ji,
Yes.
I'm Archana Patel. Yes, one question is, if we have some knowledge of Abhidhamma, then
Well, you see, it will only complicate things, you know.
somewhat
Because,
knowledge of Abhidhamma.
you see, Abhidhamma is so interesting. You see, if you start learning about how the engine of a car works, you will get attracted to it. You will spend more and more time learning it, you see, and you will miss out. Within 1 week, you have to get the license. Instead of concentrating on that, if you try to learn how the engine works and how the gearbox works, which is very, very interesting, then you get distracted from the main job, you see, and you will not be able to get your license within a week. Similarly, if you start learning Abhidhamma, it's very, very interesting, right? And you will get attracted to that, and you will lose the main objective of becoming Sotapanna as soon as possible. You see, remember, life is very uncertain. Lord Buddha said, life is like a drop of rainwater hanging at the tip of a leaf, waiting to fall onto the ground anytime, right? So I am one of those drops, you are one of those drops. We are waiting to fall onto the ground anytime. Always remember that. And before we fall, we have to become Sotapanna, right? Rather than learning, that guy, the university graduate, if he wants a job, he has to get the license within a week. Otherwise, he will lose that job. Similarly, if we don't become Sotapanna within the limited time that is available to us, and if by any chance we die, and maybe another 10 trillion or 100 trillion years, we'll get another chance to become Sotapanna. Always remember that, right? Whatever the time, free time that is available to you, spend on doing what is necessary to become Sotapanna. Try and get that license. Be able to drive the car and get that job, right? So
Yes,
don't waste
Bhante.
time
Yes.
on learning other things which are not necessary to become Sotapanna. Lord Buddha has clearly explained here in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, Sotapanna Sutra, many sutras, Gihi Sutra, Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, then Mahaparinibbana Sutra. In many sutras, he has explained what is necessary to become Sotapanna. Do that first, become Sotapanna. Protect yourself from the four hells. After that, you can do anything you like to do. Right?
And if we have learned somewhat, if we have learned it, somewhat learned,
If you have learned this somewhat, just forget about it. Let it be there. Let that knowledge be there. Don't go and try to refresh it again.
Okay, that was my
Right? Maybe
question.
the student, in the university, he learns something about motor mechanism. He knows a little bit about the engine and the gearbox and the suspension system. But leave that knowledge aside
Okay, yes.
and get on with the job of getting the license and getting that job.
Yes, Bhanteji, yes. Thank you.
Theruvan Saranai Swamin Wahanse.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Dr. Devi.
Yes,
now, in our day-to-day life, we meet so many people, and sometimes there are some thoughts, feelings coming across with different types of people.
Yes.
So in my way of practice, I avoid that kind of people as much as I can. And sometimes if I have to be with them, work with them, I try to do my part as much as I can do in my way without getting angry or without having unwholesome thoughts, really. So that has helped me so much, because avoiding for some time and such people and meeting up again, I have no such feelings with them again. So then I can work with them. So that is the avoiding of the way I practice. But when it comes to my personal family, with my kids, I cannot avoid them. I want sometimes maybe I being ambitious or expecting them to be the perfect, which we cannot practice. I know that is not that we can expect from everyone, but sometimes that unwholesome feelings coming across, I get angry with them, because if we say to them that this shouldn't be done, this is a wrong thing, but they are kids, they are in their small ages, sometimes they don't understand maybe, but eternally they try to do the same thing. So I have no idea how to control myself. Sometimes I every day, sometimes I go to bed with sadness, because today also I got angry with kind of feeling. But that is the only thing with my personal too close people. I cannot control that unwholesome feelings, thoughts. How much I try to avoid, I don't know how to control. Please advise me in that.
Okay, right. I got the question now. I'll give you some answers, right? Some techniques as to how to deal with it, right? Firstly, now at work, you said you are able to control. If you get angry, you see, at workplace, all you have to do is, 99% of the people you'll have to work with will be Pruthakjana, don't know Dhamma, right? You just pretend that you are in a lunatic house. All the others are lunatics. That's what Lord Buddha said, Sabbe Pruthakjana Umattaka. Umatta means mad. Lord Buddha said, all the Pruthakjana people who have not become Sotapanna has a certain madness. So if you are a psychiatric doctor and you are working with patients, and if the patients shout at you, do this, do that, do you get angry? No, you just laugh, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So similarly, at workplace or wherever, if someone does something to upset you, you just laugh. You always imagine you are with psychiatric people. So at home, it's different because you want them to be a certain way. But first, one thing you have to understand, you cannot have everything the way you want. Yampi ichang nalabati tampi dukkha, right? Tampi dukkha means, suffering. Yampi ichang. Icha means your desire. In Sinhala language, now you understand Sinhala. It's easier to understand in Sinhala here. It's very close to the Sinhala language. Yampi ichang nalabati. Now in Sinhala we say, Yampi si dea kemati nolabunot. Nolabati means nolabati. In Magadi, we say nolabunot. So if you desire something and if you don't get it, yampe ichang nalabati tampe dukkam. It causes suffering. That is because you are attached with raga dvesha moha. So you are not arahat, so you can't be perfect all the time, but you can gradually change that feeling by practicing this technique. Firstly, you have to sit down and understand why you get angry. Because you are attached to your children with raga dvesha moha and not maitri karuna mudita upekka, right? If you are attached with maitri karuna mudita upekka, you will not get angry, right? So what you have to do is try and change this attachment from raga dvesha moha attachment to a maitri karuna mudita attachment. So with the raga dvesha moha attachment, what you want your kids to do it, study hard, get good qualifications, get a good job, earn money, and buy nice things, live a comfortable life. That's what you are expecting. Agree?
Yes.
That's what
right.
every parent is expecting, unless they have comprehended Dhamma. So you have to change that attitude to an attitude where your purpose of life with the children is to help them to become sotapanna and make sure that they will not go to the four hells. What is the pointing, if they get 10 PhDs and become the richest man in the world, and after a few years they end up in the four hells? What is the point, right? There's no point in that. The important point is, the most important thing is, firstly, you must help them to become sotapanna and protect them from the four hells. And at the same time, they can study, and of course, they have to get a good job to earn a decent living. But they don't need a helicopter or a yacht to be happy in life. All they need is the basic necessities. They don't have to become a doctor like you. They can do any job and earn a living, right? Today, in this country, the masons, the bricklayers, the carpenters, painters, decorators, and plasterers earn more money than doctors. You see, a good tiler in London, you see, a top consultant doctor who have studied for 30 years to do MBBS and then specialize and completing FRCSO, the other one was FRCP or whatever the top qualification they get and become a top consultant in a hospital, maximum they get is 300 pounds a day. And there are bricklayers who do a 1-month course. The mason, we call them masons in our countries. Here they call them bricklayers. And bricklayers earn 400 pounds a day. And tilers earn 400 pounds a day, more than the doctors. So your son or daughter doesn't necessarily have to be a doctor like you. Don't push them too hard for education. Make sure first priority they learn Dhamma. Second priority is for education. Don't push them too hard. Don't be, impatient with them. Always sit down and talk to them. And if you teach them Dhamma first, rather than trying to make them to study and do well, teach them Dhamma, right? How much of Dhamma, I don't know, you have taught them. You have to teach them first in the morning, the rituals. Children have to do rituals. You can't ask them to learn the Four Noble Truths and start practicing meditation straight away. So teach them to pray in the morning, offer some flowers, oil lamps, joe sticks, whatever. It's the Montessori level, Make sure that they do it every morning and evening. They worship the parents. Make sure you sit down and talk to them at least 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. Get some sense into them. Teach them the 44 qualities, 44 good qualities that Lord Buddha has recommended for children, for the parents to teach children. It's in the Salleka Sutra, in the Majjhima Nikaya. Then whatever you are expecting, things will happen. Make sure your first priority is to help them to become Sotapanna. Second priority is to help them to learn a profession which we will help them to earn a living, decent living, while they are living in the human world. They don't have to be a doctor like you. They don't have to be an engineer like someone else. Any job, as long as they earn a decent living without, involved in too much of raga, dvesha, moha, that is what is necessary, right? This mentality that we have in the material world, one has to be a doctor or an engineer or lawyer or accountant or whatever, get a PhD. Those things are not necessary, right? Those are self-created illusions. As long as they can earn a living, if they can become a good farmer, go into farming and, may grow their own fruit and vegetables, if they are interested in that, and earn a decent living. Why not? Farmers can earn a very good living these days because severe food shortages are on the way. So farming is one of the best professions. So don't worry about, if they are not doing too well in school, don't push them too hard, right? Their children, let them enjoy their life. Otherwise, they'll be hating you if you push them too hard for studies. Teach them Dhamma and let them decide whatever the profession they are going to take, and teach them that they have to earn a living, right? Because parents are not going to be there forever. Firstly, they have to have good qualities. Then their wisdom will improve. And by the time they are 7 or 8 years old, you have to gradually teach them, son or daughter, you have to earn a living in this world. So you have to have some profession, you have to select whatever you like to do and learn that properly and do it well, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a doctor or an engineer. If he likes to be a farmer, let him be a farmer, right? Whatever the profession, as long as they earn a decent living without doing wrong things, that's fine. First, teach them Dhamma. Second, teach them how to earn a decent living. They'll be better citizens, happier people, and so you will be. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Swaminathan. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, anyone? I think we are getting close to about 2.5 hours. Any other questions anyone has, please ask them quickly. Next week also we are having at the same time, maybe another 2 or 3 sessions maximum. And then we will give it a break and we will start the Sotapanna series on the 25th of September. This is a short series that I started on the request of Mr. Sunil Patel. And I thought there'll be only 4 or 5 people, but it's good that we had about, I think, 12 or 13 people today, which is good. So anyone else, any questions you can ask now, or if there are no questions, I will conclude in 5 minutes. Any questions? If any questions come to your mind later, when you're thinking about it, just send me a message, WhatsApp message, you got my number, and I will come back to you within 24 hours. I want to do my best to help you to become Sotapanna. First come to Sotapanna Marga and become Sotapanna. I'm sure all of you can become Sotapanna within a maximum period of 7 months. No more than that. But you have to learn it correctly and practice it correctly. There's no rocket science here. It's not too difficult to do. In the Sotapanna series, in the last sermon, I explained how to practice it in day-to-day life.
I mean, I just pinged the link of Sotapanna group in the chat box. If anybody is interested to join, can join.
Yes. Good idea, Nagsen. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, Bhanteji.
In the meantime, if anyone wants to visit London to see the Tripitaka, the weather is still very good. Today, the sun is shining bright and beautiful. I think weather will be okay August and September as well. Anyone wants to visit London, I'm more than happy to come to the airport to collect them, arrange their accommodation, take them to the British Library and show the Tripitaka to them. I can take 4 people at a time with me. Nagsen, it seems that there are no more questions. Shall we transfer merits and blessings and conclude today's session?
Please, Bhanteji. Thank you very much for today's sermon, Bhanteji.
You're all welcome, sir, and madams, and the gentlemen and the ladies. You're all welcome. Right, so as Lord Buddha explained, when we engage in a meritorious deed, we have to transfer our merits. In Thirobuddha Sutra, Lord Buddha explained the importance of transferring merits. Firstly, when we transfer merits, our merits will multiply because it's a universal law that more you give, more you get. So more merits you share with the others, more merits you will get. So don't worry about transferring merits thinking that you will run out of your merits. You will not. More you give, more you will get. So transfer your merits generously. When you are transferring merits, especially, I always think of Bodhisattva Bharatratna Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is like a second Buddha to the Indian Buddhists, who reintroduced Buddha Dhamma to India in 1956. And as a result of his efforts, there are over, I think, about 22, 23 million Buddhists in India right now. Before him, there were no Buddhists. So always I think of him. Because of him, we are all here. All the Indian Buddhist people are listening to my Dhamma sermons and so on. We are all here because of him. So we always think of him as well as his relations who have passed away, and also those people who helped our Vihara for the past 26 years and have passed away. And you all can think of all your relatives. When we say relatives, not only the relatives in this life, but really relatives, especially your parents of past trillions and trillions of lives. We all owe a debt to our parents, all those parents, trillions and trillions of them, and we can only repay that debt by transferring merits to them. There's nothing else that we can do for them right now. So think of all of them. And also we are especially mentioning Vaishali Gaidani's beloved father who passed away recently, Mr. Ashok Geda, and we are transferring merits to him as well. So remember all of them and all these merits that we have accumulated today by discussing the Dhamma and explaining Dhamma. In fact, we have completed the 10 major meritorious deeds. I have explained them before, how it works, but I will explain again some other time for those who have joined recently, for the benefit of those who have joined recently. So we have completed many, maybe hundreds of meritorious deeds, especially the big 10, the 10 meritorious deeds we have completed. That is Dana, Sila, Bhavana, transferring of merits, receiving of merits, listening to Dhamma, discussing Dhamma, and then respecting adults, respecting Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and also Sammaditthi. So those 10 meritorious deeds also we have completed during this 2 hours time. All those merits that we have accumulated today, as well as all the merits that we have accumulated throughout our samsara, we are transferring them to all of our dead relatives, those who we mentioned and we could not mention. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all their good wishes come true. May they all comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to transfer merits to all the living beings living on the 31 planes, including those superior beings living in the 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka, human beings living in the human world, and the inferior beings living in the 4 hells, animal loka, bhuta loka, preta loka, and the hell itself. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all their good wishes come true. May they all comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, with the power of all these merits that all of us have accumulated, may all of you and all your family members be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all your good wishes come true. May you all be able to eradicate your raga, dvesha, moha gradually. Develop your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka gradually. But by doing that, improve your wisdom and comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idamme punya kamman asavakkaya bahan hotu sabba dukkha pamucchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, in order to ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame bante buripanya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame dhamma samdikthika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to give you the blessings of the Mahasangha. Abhivadana Silisa Nichang Vadda Pachayino Chattaro Dhamma Vaddanti Ayuvanno Sukambalang Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Samichatu Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakantu Sabba Devata Sabba Buddhanubhavena Sabba Dhammanubhavena Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sada Sati Bhavantu Te. May all of you be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all your good wishes come true. May all of you comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you all very, very much, and see you again next week at the same, next Saturday at the same time. Okay,
Thank you, Banteji. Sadhu,
Thank
sadhu,
you.
sadhu.
Thank you, Bante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
all most welcome. Thank you very much. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.